Oh, congratulations, by the way. That Joe Hill interview was great.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I had to keep that a secret for so long.
Yes,
And I
yes.
was dying because I wanted to tell absolutely everybody.
I
But it was
bet. Bloody hell.
it was for Phantasmagoria.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell anyone
Oh,
until the
right.
magazine cover, until Trevor announced the issue. So I was just there like
Ah,
every now and then I was like,
brilliant.
hey, oh, thank you. I was mostly just trying to contain
I can
the
imagine. My God.
fangirl. Yeah, I was
But
in
yeah.
my head. I was like, don't explode and say anything crazy. Just ask questions. Just try and look normal.
Yeah, it's tricky though, isn't it? Because you are like, it is kind of like horror aristocracy, isn't it? You know, this
It
it's
I
insane, isn't it?
just
This is a king, right? You know, this is
it's yeah, literally, and I can't believe some of the people I've got to speak to, like in the UK, like Tim Leb and Ramsey
yeah,
Campbell.
Ramsey Campbell. I mean Ramsey's great because he's very approachable.
Well, that's the thing, because I see those people at conventions, and because they're
Mhm.
UK based authors, like they felt a
Yes,
bit more like accessible.
yeah.
Whereas
I
any
mean,
of the Kings are
yeah.
very hard
It's
to.
yeah.
You can't
How do
even really
you
make contact with them. So,
right? How do you even get through that? You know, it's crazy, but very
but
cool. I'm just, you know, and the interview was really cool too.
oh, thank you. I will forever be in Trevor's debt. I keep he's like, no,
Yeah.
no, he's like, no, no, you were. I wanted you to do the interview with me. I'm like, I
Mhm.
know, but that does not mean that I will not be buying you a delightful meal of some sort when I
Of
see you, and
course. Yeah.
um, because I would not have got that opportunity if it wasn't for Trevor including me. He must have schmoozed
Yeah.
him at
Yeah.
Fantasy Con,
Right.
because I tried to do a little schmoozing and I wasn't
Uh-huh.
successful. I was Do you know what's lovely is that he was so nice.
Right, right.
'Cause, you know, they
Uh,
say don't like meet your heroes and
mhm.
stuff, but he was so lovely. I knew he would be though, because I've
Yeah. I hear good
watched him in interviews.
reports, you know, I hear
Yeah.
very good reports from people who have met him, you know, at conventions and whatnot, and just generally, and everybody says he's a good guy, you know, he's a very decent guy.
Yeah, he's very yeah, he was very like personable and
Mhm.
chatty and
Yeah.
friendly. So
Looks like his
seemed to have
dad, doesn't he?
yeah, he
Doesn't he?
does.
I was like, you
You
could tell, can't you? You know, you could tell whose son he is. It's
yeah,
like bloody hell, wow.
yeah. No, that was one of the greatest pleasures of my entire life
I
getting to
can,
do that.
yeah, insane, absolutely insane, right?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Do you want to put this on both of our channels, George?
I don't mind. Yeah, that would be grand. I mean, do you want to upload it first since it's your, you know, it's your
Nah,
interview? Yeah, I don't mind, you
nah,
know. Okay,
nah. We
no
could
problem.
put it for because I think that we can like I think on YouTube you can like
Mhm.
tag it as like a collaboration or something
Yes, or
now,
something like that. There's some
something like
feature,
that.
isn't
But
there?
yeah, well, yes. But I'm excited because when I was watching Interview with the Vampire, I
Uh-huh.
watched it. I was like, I bet George has watched
Oh,
this
oh God, yeah.
because
I loved it because I was a fan of I mean, I am a fan of the original book. Some of them, anyway. Some of them are, you know, that some of them slip off. But you
yeah,
know, I always liked the queer subtext of the books, and it is primarily subtext in the books. You know, it's implied. The
yeah.
relationship, particularly in Interview with the Vampire, is homo-romantic more than anything, or homo-domestic, I suppose. You know, they
Yeah.
live
Hang on, let me
together.
press record.
Oh,
I just realized
yeah, and
another
I'm
recording.
no problem.
Let me do a quick dark bleatings from my end.
No problem. I'm recording this end too, so
Oh, good. Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we got backup just in case of
Recording in
yeah.
anything.
progress.
Thank you, mother. Yeah, she's mother now. Since we did,
No.
yeah, since my little podcast group did Alien, she's mother now.
Oh, that was a great podcast. I really enjoyed that.
That one we were really
Was
intimidated by. You know, of all the material,
really?
yeah, all the material we've done, we were a bit like, oh my God, this is such a big text. It's so polysemic. There's so much going on in it.
No,
Um,
it was fantastic. I
oh,
really. Oh, so Dark Bleatings, everybody, welcome. I have George back, one
Hello.
of my very favorites, and we're talking about Interview with the Vampire today and Dracula.
Oh, oh
Um,
yeah.
and for those who caught that first 30 seconds, we
Hmm.
we were just talking about a fantastic podcast that George uploaded, and I
Oh,
will link that in the description
oh,
actually
thank you.
about Alien. It
Hmm.
was it was amazing to listen to because you guys got so in depth with
Yeah,
it.
it's three
Um,
hours long, guys. It is. It's a bit of an investment if you're going to go and listen to it. But you know what the funny thing is? It was 3 hours long, and we went so deep with it. But we felt by the time we'd finished that we'd barely scratched the surface. We
there's
could
just
have
so
gone on. We could have gone on.
that's
There's so much in that film. It's unreal. It's so profound.
that is the art of really great filmmaking and
Hmm.
writing, which I feel like it's happening less and less.
I know.
Like,
I hate to say it because I feel like an old man, but it's true. It
yeah,
is
I
kind of true. I mean, Alien is that very peculiar thing where you can watch it on multiple levels. So if you just want a really heart pulsing, blood racing action sci-fi horror, it's brilliant on that level. I mean, like it's just amazing. It's so cinematic and it just hurtles along. But underneath all that, there's so much stuff about gender politics under capitalism, and
yeah,
it's crazy. It's
yeah,
I particularly, I mean, Jack, you know Jack, my
yeah.
Jack Graham, my podcast companion. He is a genius. Jack is an absolute genius, and he comes at these things from such a particular angle. I loved his preconception of the alien as like an algorithm or as a waveform that copies itself.
Yeah, guys, honestly, this conversation was so good because I thought that I knew Alien, right? And I've been a fan of it literally for decades at this point. I tracked down, like an original script
Oh my
that I've got
God.
like yeah, I got like a paper copy of it in my office, and like so I thought that I had like deep dived Alien to death, just
Uh-huh.
myself, just my own personal interest thing. And there was so much coming up in this conversation that you had that I hadn't considered, or like things that I didn't know.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was really, really fun.
Oh, thank you.
I, I
The only regret we had really is that because we were talking about gender politics, it would have been great to have like a woman on and maybe someone who's non-binary or something, so we could get like a range because we do have a certain range. I mean, we've got Elliot who's bisexual, I'm gay, Jack is straight. So we've got that going on, but we're all cisgender, all of us we identify as male. So it would have been maybe nice, especially given that the film is so like it's so female oriented, right?
Yeah, well, that's the kind of thing that it occurs to you like when you're midway through the conversation, though, because you don't really
Yeah,
know what's going to come up to you. But
of course.
also, the three of you, though, are none of you are misogynists, so I
Oh
think that
God,
you
no.
carried the conversation quite well.
It's
Like,
an interesting thing because I know what Jack would say to that, and he's absolutely right. He would say that we're not misogynists, but misogyny is baked into culture and into our histories, and it's there in all of us, women included,
yeah.
everyone.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, and I think the trick is being able to identify that and take steps to mitigate it.
Hmm.
To
I
identify when there are like misogynistic urges or thoughts or responses coming up that are
yeah.
cultivated, that are cultured within society. That's what Jack would almost certainly say.
Well, I think you were like really thoughtful about the
Mhm.
discussion, and it was really interesting. And yeah, I had a joy listening to that because I was
Oh.
having a nice day leveling up on Final Fantasy X, and
Yay! Oh my God. I haven't played
I
10
was
for
like,
ages.
no, I was in the Omega dungeon, the Omega ruins, and I
Oh.
was like, I need something that's going to like keep me engaged to listen to
Hmm.
because I couldn't. I do love the soundtrack, but I couldn't listen to that dungeon music and the battle music for that long.
For that
So
long, because
I
it's a big dungeon, right?
Yeah, and then I saw your podcast. I think I saw it at like 20 minutes after you uploaded it. And I was like, oh
Uh-huh.
yes, yes, this'll be great.
Yeah, because
Um,
we're loosely. I mean, it's very loose. We always play fast and loose with it, but it's this season of Not the Same Log is loosely based around science fiction horror.
I yeah, I I miss the days where the writing was so good in a film and like the equal effort was made in all other
Mhm.
elements, like stuff like
Yes.
Alien and the Thing and um where you can talk about it for hours and still feel
Yes.
like you haven't scratched the surface because
Yeah.
I I'm a little bit disillusioned with the films that everyone seems to be raving about that are made now, and
Mhm.
I feel like I've lost my mind or something because I don't get it. Like, um, as you know, I hated 28 Years Later.
Yeah, you weren't a fan, were you, of that one?
I was not, but I'm happy that a lot of people enjoyed it
Mhm.
and found so much to talk about with it. I just didn't. I just didn't enjoy it, and I didn't like it, and I didn't like. People kept talking to me as if I didn't understand what was
No,
being done with it.
it's
I
split the
did.
crowd, that one. It has
Yeah,
split the crowd, like, squarely down the middle. There are people who loved it, and there are people who absolutely frigging hated it, you know?
yeah, I was like, oh, I understand what was
Mm,
happening. I
yeah,
just don't
yeah.
like the way it was executed.
Mhm.
And then people kept they promised me, George. People kept saying, "Oh, I know you didn't like that one, but trust
Mhm.
me, you'll love the Bone
Oh, the
Temple."
Bone
And
Temple, yeah?
I believed them, George.
Oh, you didn't like that one either?
I thought that one was worse. And again, it's not like I thought great performances, and I
Mhm.
liked I liked some of the ideas. But I was, you know, when you hit the point where they decided they obviously had the rights to use the entire length of Number of the Beast,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
they're just like, oh, do you know what we're gonna do,
We're
Ralph?
gonna do it. We're gonna put the
You're
whole thing in there.
we're making a new Number of the Beast music video and you're the star. I just thought I was watching that literally with my jaw on the floor, thinking, how much did they pay him? How much did they pay him? And then oh, I'm gonna say something controversial, but bear with me.
Go on, go on.
I was really excited to watch this film, right?
Uh-huh.
I can't overstate that. I was ecstatic that it was available and I could watch it. I watched Sinners,
Sinners,
and
no, I haven't seen that one yet.
okay, I won't spoil anything for you.
Yeah, haven't seen that
Um,
one yet. I know,
I
again, it's kind of, like, divided the crowd, hasn't it? There are people who
has
really like,
it.
yeah, people who like,
Oh,
go
okay.
nuts and people who really don't like it. So, yeah.
I I thought because I know that that one it won 4 Oscars and was
Mm,
nominated for a lot.
mhm.
I completely wholeheartedly agree with the Oscars for like the cinematography
Yeah.
performances, and I think the other one might have been costume design.
Mhm.
I couldn't I all of my flabbers were gasted though that it won an Oscar for original screenplay because
Right, so, like,
I personally thought that the ideas and the themes and everything,
mhm.
it was a great idea, and
Yeah,
everything else, like literally everything else about that film was executed so beautifully. But
yeah.
I thought that the writing was just all
A
over the
bit.
place, and I
Yeah.
was like, I can't believe it. But I just feel like our standards have dropped a bit. So of course, but like not in like that wasn't a high standard of film, but I was
Right,
just a bit
right.
like
There's
everyone
a
is raving about this like it's the best thing that's ever been made, and
yeah.
it again it's beautiful and the like the acting absolutely
Mhm.
outstanding and stuff, but like I was like, oh,
But you
and I was like,
didn't
am I
it
just
yeah, it didn't get you. It didn't you didn't respond to it, yeah?
they were just well, I won't go into it with you because I
Mm.
don't want to spoil anything because I don't want to spoil it because a lot of people really liked it, so I don't want to
Yeah.
like ruin anything for you. You'd have to like watch it and
Mhm.
let me know what you think
Yeah, will
because
do, will do.
but I think maybe it's because my expectations were so high because literally everyone in the world that I saw
Oh,
was like, this is
that's a
amazing.
horrible thing, isn't it, you know?
Yeah, and
That's a
I
horrible thing.
trusted it.
Yeah.
I trusted it. I really like Michael B. Jordan.
I call it the
Um,
Prometheus effect. Yeah, I know,
oh
right? I
God.
know. I know. I like I mean, I always you know, for me, that it was a formative moment, that was. It was a genuine formative moment because I came out of it. I was so excited to see it. I was so excited to see it. You know, it's Ridley Scott coming back to the Alien franchise, and, you know, it was advertised as though it was like, "Oh my god, it's this really smart, really intelligent alien film that's gonna be talking about, like, ideas and the origins of, like, humanity and evolution," and all this. I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so up for this. Oh my god, it's using discarded Giga designs from the lost adaptation of Dune."
Okay.
And I was like, "Oh
Yeah.
my god, this is gonna be so up my alley. This is gonna be amazing." And I came out of it, and it was one of those films where initially I didn't know what to feel.
Hmm.
where you're like, I'm confused. And I remember like I was on the way home and I was thinking, oh my God, I think I hated that. And it crept up on me. It crept up and I was like, oh, I hated that film.
I
Oh, I
I
hated
didn't
it.
I didn't like Prometheus,
No.
right? But I was like, well, that's
Right.
disappointing. And
Yeah.
then Justin Park was like, have you seen Covenant? And I was like, no, I haven't rushed to see it. And he was like, okay. And then he gave that to me as a challenge, Kayleigh, that for what I
Yeah.
used to do on Ginger Nuts.
Oh
And I
yeah.
was like, oh, I was like, okay. And I was like, wait a minute, why are you giving me that as a challenge, Kayleigh? And he was like, oh, and he was just like, hey. And I was that was the challenge that I was on a 13 film like
Yeah.
winning streak of like finding merit in everything I watched, including
Wow.
Troll 2 and Jaws 4
Yep.
and Zombie Lake. And
Hmm, hmm.
Alien Covenant was the one that prompted my first ever internet rant because
Yeah.
I think the beginning of my, I say review very loosely. I think the beginning of my thoughts on it was, oh, David, and
Well,
he's talking
yeah.
to his creator, and there's a big statue of David.
Hmm.
Oh, they're talking about the art of creation. I sure hope they don't bash us over the head with this theme
Oh yeah.
without any subtext.
Oh
And I was
yeah.
like, oh my God. So I don't think I'm gonna. And
No.
then, I stupidly did watch Romulus, and I think that that was
Mm.
better than Prometheus and Covenant.
Romulus is better than than Covenant. It is. I mean, it starts off well. I love the opening to Romulus. You know, when it's actually on the
I
planet and you're
I
getting
was
all of the stuff about how the company binds people like through
yeah,
generations to the
I was
contracts. I
ex
thought that was
yeah,
great.
I thought that was great, and I was excited because
Mm.
I thought the aliens were going to be on the planet because they
Yeah.
established like the all of the workers kind of know all of the underground and stuff. And I
Yes.
thought, oh, like
Yes.
let's have it on a because don't get me wrong, I love Alien on a ship and everything, but they
Yeah.
do that
Fine. Hmm.
every time. And I thought, oh, this is more interesting, because we've seen Alien on a ship in
Yes.
every
Many
iteration.
many
So,
times. Right. Many
um,
times.
and then I just and
The thing
I
about
felt.
the thing about Romulus is when the action starts, it loses confidence in itself. So it starts just reminding you that you're watching an alien film in big
Yeah.
capital letters, you know. It keeps winking at the camera, so it starts
Oh,
recreating shots from
it's
Alien and
it's
Aliens. And
started to
like
feel
the
really
character
obnoxious.
it really did. I remember I when I first watched it, I actually towards the end, I actually paused it because I was getting angry and I was actually like snarling at my screen, like, stop reminding me that I'm watching an alien film. I know, I get it, you know. Have some because it started off so well. It seemed to have like ideas and it seemed to have confidence and the world building was good and the characters were interesting. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, come on, do this. Run with this. Run with these ideas. You are doing something really interesting here."
Yeah.
And
And
by
then
the
it just
end, it's all gone. It's all gone. All it becomes is a patchwork of references to the previous films. And it's like, yeah, I know about the previous films. I've seen them. I don't need you to recreate like scenes and
I
lines from them.
I never think that it's a good idea to keep reminding us of the superior films in the
Right.
franchise.
Yes,
Like, well,
right.
I
Don't
think,
remind me of Alien, okay? Because
yeah,
Alien is one of the high bars of cinema, not just like
yeah,
science fiction or horror cinema. It's just a high bar of cinema. So
oh yeah,
don't
it's
remind me
yeah,
don't remind me of that film because
yeah.
I'm gonna hurtle back and think, oh, I'm not watching Alien. What a shame.
Uh, Yeah, it's a yeah, I felt the same about that. Like initially I was enjoying it, and then
Mm,
a few things were bugging me, but I was still
mhm.
enjoying it. So I was like, okay, I can let this go as long as I don't keep being because people are like, why can't you just enjoy things? Why do you have to pick so many holes? And I'm like, look, I if the writing is generally good
Mhm,
and I'm watching what you can reasonably consider to be a good film, I can
mm.
I notice things, but I can let it go. It doesn't like ruin my enjoyment. But once I've hit that point of like several things in a row are inconsistent or they make no
Mhm.
sense or they're like just done for convenient, like plot
Yes.
convenience, then I start really nitpicking because I'm
Yeah.
annoyed now and
And
so
I
I
mean
can't forgive it for anything.
that question I always find odd anyway, because you're engaging with media. That's the whole point, right? So
I
you're
want
engaging
to enjoy
critically
more things.
anyway. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And,
I mean,
it is not the case, or, it is not the case that, like, you can't have knowingly low rent cinema that's really well made, right? That's
dude,
fine. I was
oh my
watching,
God.
with a friend
Yeah.
of mine, Gerard, I was watching a film from 1988 recently. We did a couple of discussions about the Maniac Cop series of films. And
Mm-hmm,
the original Maniac Cop from 1988, it's so low rent. It knows exactly what it is.
mm-hmm.
It's like, it is schlock horror. It's all about the set pieces, but it is so well done. It's
Hmm.
every set piece, every moment is so well shot and well framed and well lit, and the effects are really good. Big practical effects done in camera. That it's good. It's great fun. Cheesy, schlocky, hammy, really ridiculous at times. Great fun. Really good film. Knows exactly what it's doing and
Yeah.
entirely enjoyable for that.
Hmm.
Compared to that,
Yeah.
you get films like Romulus, which are like a million, million, million times the budget, has all of these pretensions about it, where
Oh,
it promises it's going to be exploring these ideas and these concepts, and then it abandons them because it
see that.
loses confidence in itself.
Yeah, see now that's where I get annoyed because the bigger the budget and the more people that have worked on something, the less allowances I give it
Right,
for being
absolutely. If
crap.
if if a
And
$1 billion has been spent on a goddamn film, you
yeah,
expect it to be good, don't you? Expect it
and
to have the best of everything.
the script has passed through several levels of production as well. Like
Yeah.
that, they're and um. 'Cause I've had it said to me that like my bar is like I just don't like anything and only the very like blah blah blah, and I'm like, dude, I'm someone that loves Red Dwarf, and
Right.
I know that consistency wise and plot holes and also like there's
Yeah,
loads wrong with Red Dwarf, but that show doesn't take itself very seriously, and
exactly, right.
it's a sitcom in space, and
Yeah,
generally I think the comedy's funny
yeah.
and the writing is generally good for
And
like
also, I mean, it's
the
it's deliberately low rent, isn't it? It knows what it's
yeah.
doing. It's like, it's a British TV program, so it doesn't have a mega budget. It knows it doesn't have a mega budget, so it does what it can.
It's not presenting itself as like like the sci-fi show. Like it's not even a sci-fi show, it's a sitcom. Like
Really?
that's the other thing. But and I did you ever see those like smeg up
Oh,
tapes that
yeah,
they
love them.
released with the
Yeah, loved
outtakes?
them.
Gosh,
Absolutely loved them. I was obsessed with them when I was a teenager.
I really loved that things like they like answer questions that were written and it's like, oh, in this episode, Lister said he lost his appendix as a child, but then this other episode,
Uh-huh.
Legion
Yeah.
took his appendix out. How is
Uh-huh.
this possible? And he's like, because we made a mistake,
Because
okay?
it made a mistake. And also, I mean, like, if you really want to be fan wanky about it, it's a science fiction show that deals with multiple realities. Reality has been reset several times in Red Dwarf, right?
Yeah, with no explanation
Yeah,
sometimes, which
right.
is kind of
Via
one of the things I
some.
like about it.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's fine. Maybe in this version of reality, Lister's appendix didn't get cut up when he was a kid. It's
it's
fine. It's
I think it's
whatever.
just it's the attitudes of the people involved in the making because I this is
Yeah,
why I know, right, don't get me wrong, right, I know that after season 5
it kind of drops
Supernatural
off.
was
Yeah,
not written well.
yeah.
Supernatural now, I know it wasn't written very well
Hmm.
at like for its last 15 seasons of
Yeah.
whatever it was, right?
Yes.
However, they're quite aware, like the cast kind of make
Hmm.
fun of stuff and like
Hmm.
they'll laugh at their own janky performances in some
Yes.
scenes and like think like so Supernatural's not a show that's like take us really
No,
seriously.
Supernatural's a
We've
really
named
good example, actually, because it is. I mean, like, at base, what is it? It's hot guys, cool monsters, right? Kind
yeah,
of it. That's it, isn't
basically.
it? That's the appeal. You're
Yeah.
not really going to Supernatural and thinking, "Oh, this is gonna have the writing quality of, like, Breaking Bad or something?"
No, it's not really the point of the and also like yeah, the things went differently to how the show the creator thought they were going like whatever like but it never like tried to sell us on this
No.
like this is the best thing that's ever been like it's just supposed to be for the most part just fun,
This
lots
is
of
it.
silly comedy
This is it.
episodes.
I mean, this is exactly what I tend to come down on Prometheus for, because it promote. First of all, there's the budget; it's huge, and it promotes itself as being this incredibly intelligent, science fiction horror film with all of this existential stuff in it. When you pare it down, when you look at the version of the script that was filmed, which by the way should never have been filmed, that script needed so much more passes and editing and additions and whatnot. It's unreal. It's so pretentious, and
Yeah.
it doesn't fulfill its promise. There are really low rent, like B-movie science fiction films that are way smarter than this. I mean, we just did one. We did Quatermass and the Pit from,
Hmm.
and that is when you look at, I mean, for the time, for the era, it was actually really, really effective, and the effects were really cool. But it's still a British science fiction horror film, so it's not mega money behind it,
Yeah.
but it is so much more intelligent than Prometheus is. The reason being, it really feels the weight of its ideas, and it's not afraid of them. It doesn't like just bring up the ideas then retreat, which is what Prometheus does. It brings up ideas. You'll have characters like talking about ideas and like almost winking at the camera. Oh, this is a film about themes, and here's one of the themes. But then it won't explore them in any way, shape, or form. So you've
Yeah.
got
This.
characters like Elizabeth Shaw, the
Hmm.
protagonist. She ends the film exactly the same as how she starts the film, despite everything she
Yeah.
goes through. And it's like, when David says to her at the end, "Oh, you still believe, don't you?" And she says yes, and you're like, why? Fucking why?
It's
You've just discovered that it's Frankenstein, right? You've just discovered
mm,
that your creators, the creators of life on Earth, fucking hate you. And you don't know why. They want to kill you, and you don't know why. You were a mistake. Maybe all of life on planet Earth, as we understand it, is a mistake. It's an error. You know?
mhm.
Why? Why do you still believe in this? It doesn't make any sense.
That's my thing. See, the directors that I like that are relatively new in the grand scheme of cinema,
Mhm.
because I think there's a little bit of pretension here sometimes, but I think they can get away with it because they're not, they know what they wanted to talk about, and they
Uh-huh.
went that. I think Ari Aster is really good.
Ari Aster's
I,
ace. I love Ari
I
Aster's films.
maybe one of the best, and then
Yeah.
I also really like Oz Perkins as well.
Yes, I love Ozzy's films because like they're clever, they're smart, they're really smart, but also they're fun.
But we could talk about any one of their films and that could go on 3 hours.
Oh my
Like because
God.
there's so much to talk about.
Jesus.
Like we'll have to do that
Longlegs, are
sometime.
you kidding me?
Oh God, I
Are
know.
you
Um,
kidding me? Wow.
Now before we go into a long legs tangent, I just realized. So what I wanted to talk to you about was
Yes,
Interview the
yes,
Vampire
yes. Sorry,
because
sorry, sorry.
no,
Yes.
no, no, no
Sidetracked. Yeah.
apology necessary. This is just how we roll, George, every single time.
Yeah.
Um, I so I really wanted to talk to you about this show because
Yeah,
I
right.
wasn't even going to watch it because I have been
Hmm.
so disappointed with like reimaginings of things I already liked, and I'm a fan of the books up
Hmm.
to a point, and then I also really liked the film from the
Yeah,
90s as
I
well. I
love
think
the 90s film, I really do. I mean, it don't get me wrong,
wonderful.
it has its flaws, and
Hmm.
especially like from a 2026 perspective, I suppose it's kind of problematic in certain ways. I mean, there's the whole sort of like the queer baiting element of it, but you have to, I mean, bearing in mind it's a 1990s film, so even
Hmm.
the intimacy that you do see in it is kind of revolutionary for a film of its
Yeah,
ilk. You never really
you
saw that.
yeah, you need the context of the time it was made to really
Yes,
appreciate because that was about as much as they could get away with.
yes,
Like
and
like
it's about as far as you could possibly go in that
but
context, isn't it? But I
I
do
think
love
the
it.
reason I love it. I think that the reason that I love it is because my biggest thing when there's an adaptation of a book that I like, I don't care if changes are made because sometimes things don't work on screen as they would in a book or whatever.
Absolutely.
But as long as the um as long as the tone and
Hmm.
the point of the book has been captured and like the characters have been the characters can be done differently as well, but I feel like as
Absolutely.
long as the central themes are there and um I want to feel like whoever's made the film
Hmm.
appreciates the book, the source material really. And I just thought that the atmosphere
Oh, it's
and
beautiful. I think that
it's
film has
oh
such a dense and that air of melancholy. I mean, it is. I mean, people
Mm.
forget, of course, because this is like just baked into vampire lore now. But it really was the first popular vampire piece of cinema that
Hmm.
that gave you the romanticized male vampire. Up until that point,
Yeah.
they were all monsters, right? They were all just monsters. They were all Dracula, right? They were all
Yeah,
Dracula.
like
Um,
the tortured soul
right.
vampire really came from Anne Rice
It
because
came from
those
Anne
but
Rice, it really did. I mean, and like it was certainly, I mean, even if she wasn't the first, it was popularized by those. The notion was popularized by those books, right? And by the film.
yeah,
I mean, the film was, again, people kind of forget. Neil Jordan, wasn't it, who directed the film?
Neil Jordan,
Not
yes, yeah.
yeah, was it Neil Jordan? Yes, it
I
was, wasn't it? Yeah.
or was it Neil
Neil
Marshall?
No, no,
Was it
no,
Neil
no.
Jordan? No,
It's Neil
Neil
Jordan.
Jordan.
It's Neil Jordan because he did Company of Wolves as well.
That's right.
Um,
Yes, yeah.
yeah, and Neil, he's a really weird director actually for this kind of material because he's kind of art house. You know, his if you look at his
Hmm.
background, it's all this very obscure, weird, very surreal stuff where storytelling isn't quite it's not linear, it's all over the place. It's
Yeah.
symbolic and it's implied, and he brings that to Interview with a Vampire. So you get this weirdness going on. There's something about the way it's shot and the way it's framed that makes it kind of dreamlike and weird and
Yeah,
odd.
it and there's moments by the way, I know that Anne Rice did not like the casting of Tom Cruise and then she saw the
No, she
film and
was
was
she
like,
was quite against it, wasn't she,
yeah,
initially?
but then I remember like she publicly apologized to Tom Cruise
Yeah,
afterwards though, because she was like, "That is my Lestat. That's
he's
exactly."
he's pretty goddamn good in it, isn't it? I mean,
I
like
what a surprise! I don't even really like Tom Cruise
no,
as an
nor
actor, to be
me.
honest, but
But I like him as
fantastic.
Lestat. I like him
And
as
now,
Lestat, I've got to say. I mean, Tom Cruise does this thing where he's massively formulaic as an actor. He does certain things with his face that are in every goddamn film, but he doesn't do it in this film. There's a
no,
thing that he
he's
does
different.
where
Yeah.
he like stares off into the middle distance and his mouth goes slack, and he does it in every goddamn film that he's in. And every time he does it, it takes me out of the film because I'm sort of like, stop it, Tom. You know, fucking stop it.
Yeah,
You know?
in terms of casting, I think that he was absolutely. I think that they were all fantastic. Everyone cast
Yeah.
in the film. In Queen of the Damned, which I don't
Mhm.
want to talk about that
Yeah.
much. Um, I
Yeah, it's not a
I
great
don't
film. It's
I
it's not
don't
a great film.
I mean it's fine, but as an
Yeah.
adaptation of The Queen of the Damned, the book,
Right.
it's not great. And I don't think it's Stuart Townsend's fault that
No,
he didn't really capture Lestat at all
no.
because what was you can I mean I don't think he could with what he was given
What he was given, yeah.
because that film was made to give to a new metal loving teenage audience, which they
Absolutely.
nailed. I don't think it's a terrible film. I just
No,
think
it's
that
just not like I think
it's just not these books.
it's not what you want, is it? It's not what you want from these books and this material, right? It
No, see,
abandoned. I mean, I found that it
yeah,
abandoned like the sensuality of Interview with a Vampire, which is that what part
the
of what I loved, the
I
texture and the intimacy of it is
I
gone.
I thought the emotional depth was got there was no emotional depth in Queen of the
Yeah.
Damned. And like if you just want like a fun vampire film with a cool
Oh,
soundtrack,
fine,
I saw Jonathan Davis at Download perform that
Mm,
whole soundtrack live. It
yeah.
was one of the best hours of my life. It was so good because a lot because the original music, the original stuff they wrote for that film, I still like.
Mhm.
But yeah, like there was no chemistry between Lestat and
No.
what's in Talamasca lady, I can't even remember. Jessie, is it?
Yeah, it
Um,
just doesn't work somehow, does it? And when I mean, I know it's not like a sequel to the Interview with a Vampire film. It's like its own adaptation, isn't it? But
yeah,
when it's in the same family, and you compare the two, the resonance and the depth and the richness of the relationships in Interview with a Vampire, there's just no comparison, is there? There's just no comparison. Everything
no.
in Interview with the Vampire, the film, is so complex, you
Yeah,
know?
I sorry, Stuart, but you are ranked third for my people
Mm,
who played Lestat.
yeah,
Now, where I thought that they did every. pretty much everything right in the TV
Hmm.
in the show. Because they obviously they changed some stuff from the
Yeah.
books. There's some
Oh
major
yeah.
things actually,
Yeah,
but
huge
I think
stuff. I mean, like they hurtle it forward a few centuries. They obviously they make Louis black. They
they changed the race dynamics. But I
completely, but I
what
loved it. I loved
I
what
did
they
as
did
well.
with it.
I did because it didn't feel like something that was being done for the sake of just modernizing.
No,
It
what they
felt like they
it,
dug into the narrative
it's
and
it.
they translated the themes of the narrative into something that was a bit fresher to
I
like,
think that's
you know?
exactly it. Like they took the dynamic between Louis and Lestat, and then they, by hurtling it forward, by making Louis black, they change the valence of the relationship. The power dynamics in that relationship become like way more complex all of a sudden, like way more complex. The
Yeah,
subtext, like the homosexual subtext, becomes text in this version, and I
I
love
love
that.
yeah, yeah, I did as well. And Sam Reed, oh my God, where
Mm.
did they find him?
Yeah, right.
Because I didn't think, honestly, didn't think that anybody could top Tom Cruise for me,
Yeah,
for
but
for playing Lestat. But
yeah.
Sam Reed, I was like, oh my,
Wow,
like,
right? And
and
they
he's
invest him with so
so,
much. They invest him with so
oh,
much. I mean, like there's like a narcissism, absolutely, but he's also very lonely and very afraid of being abandoned. That's something they tease out. That is in the novel, but it's not that significant, really. It's not like explored to any great depth. Whereas here, it becomes almost like the principal motivating factor of the character. The reason he objectifies his lovers and the people in his life is because he doesn't want them to leave. He's been alive for quite a
yeah,
long time, and every single
oh
one of them
God,
has moved on, right? Every single one of them has either died or moved on, left him. And he is so lonely and so desperate that even though he's an abusive prick, and he is, like the relationship between him and Louis is very abusive. It's like almost, and at times it's mutually abusive, but it's mostly from
hmm
Lestat's side. It gives it a different, it gives the, I mean, this is really dark, dangerous territory, but it gives the abusive dynamic a different valence, because they're immortal, and
it's
he is
yeah,
afraid. He's
yeah,
lonely and he's afraid, and he loves Louis. Like
yeah.
he
This, oh,
just Louis, he absolutely adores, and of course, being immortal, he doesn't fall in love that easily.
no, this was the thing that I found. Maybe this was like the most compelling element of the show for me, is that I was so confused about how to feel about Louis and Lestat, because on
Yeah.
one hand, like they are like mutually abusive to each other, but
Hmm.
because we're getting this from Louis' perspective, initially you're like, well, Lestat's an asshole, but
Yes.
then I liked that, because the framing device of the show
Oh,
is that
so
Daniel's
good.
interviewing them, and he's
Yes.
and I like, and this is like following on from the first interview as
Yeah.
seen in the book.
Hmm.
And Daniel's like, hang on, there are inconsistencies because
Yeah.
you said
Daniel
this.
actually is brilliant in this. This is the best version of
Great.
Daniel by a significant margin. Because in the book and in the original film, he's kind of a no, he's kind of a non-entity, isn't he? He is there as a
He's
framing
just there to,
device, right?
he's a facilitate. Yeah,
He's
yeah.
not that here. He has a
No,
whole other valence in this series. He is there to remind not just Louis, but the audience. He's kind of like you know who he is? He's Jiminy Cricket. He's the audience's conscience. It doesn't
yeah,
matter what like romantic bullshit Louis spins in his yarn and his recollections. He's there to remind him, yeah, okay, fine, you were lovers and it was hot and it was romantic, but you're still fucking killers,
and
both of you.
I,
You're all still
yeah,
fucking killers. He says that about oh, I can never remember her name. The girl they adopt, the child they turn.
Claudia,
Yeah,
Claudia,
Claudia.
yeah,
He says that about Claudia because Louis is rhapsodizing about this child who's wonderful, and he loved her so much, and she was so smart and clever and intelligent. And Daniel sits there and goes, "Yeah, she was still a mass murderer. She was still one of still like
yeah,
by human standards, still one of the worst mass murderers
yeah.
on a
She's
domestic level you could possibly imagine. So don't give me the bullshit, man."
because she was very like Lestat
Yes.
for her
I
proclivity.
love
Like,
Daniel is so important in this series because he grounds it. You know how the original book and the original film is all about the romance. It's all about how
mm,
romantic and dark and desirable these entities are, and that's what it's about, and that's fine. That's really cool. It's why, there was a whole culture of little gothic kids, and
hmm
teenagers in the 1990s who kind of wanted to be vampires, this kind of like sexually fluid, genderless culture that wanted to be vampires, right? That wanted to be immortal, that wanted to dress in black and drink blood and like write poetry about the existential ennui of being. Great, love that, love it to bits, and I love the Interview with a Vampire. It kind of half inspired that. What this
yeah,
series does, which I think is really smart and kind of brave, is that it takes that and it says, you know what, though, they're not all that. They're still fucking monsters.
yeah,
These
and like
creatures, no matter how romantic they are, no matter how sensual and whatnot, they are cannibals and killers. And he's there to remind you of that. He says that all the way through the interview. And also, he
yeah,
punctures Louis's bullshit. Louis, like, Louis loves to romanticize in his, with his ennui and his like the fact that he's in despair all the time. And it's like, and Daniel is like, yeah, whatever, man. For beyond
he's just
everything else,
unimpressed.
yeah,
Yeah, he's just
beyond
unimpressed.
anything else, you
But I
ultimately became privileged by killing, by being a monster. So don't give it to me, man. I'm not buying. I am
and
just
I
not buying.
and I really like, I think one of the more like essential parts of like what he's contributing to the narrative, Daniel, is like um we realize like not that far in really, like hang on a minute, is Louis a reliable narrator?
Right.
Because we're just taking his word for it. And like the
Yes.
film, we don't question Louis's account of
No.
events at all. And
No.
then at the end when Lestat turns up and he's like, Louis, all this whining.
That is my
um
favorite line in the whole film. Or
it's
Louis,
it's
the way Tom Cruise delivers it is great as well because he kind of growls it. Oh, Louis, still
yeah,
whining, Louis. And
yeah,
in that universe, in that film, I'm so with Lestat. I'm kind of like,
yeah.
you know what, Louis? You are immortal and beautiful, and you can, you live this sensuous lifestyle. It's like, calm you know? You know?
Yeah,
Climb down off of the cross, Louis, all right?
but what I really liked about the way that this show framed everything is we've got Louis' account and we kind of have to go
Mm,
by it, but at some point we're like, oh, I don't know if his memories, and it's not because he's lying, it's
right.
because memory. Do you know one of the most startling things I ever learned, and I only learned it recently, is that your own
From
memories aren't reliable,
Oh yeah,
and you can
totally.
you because um your the way you take in anything that
Hmm.
happens to you is affected by your perspective of the
Yes,
situation. So you won't remember anything completely accurately. And
that's
that's
absolutely
crazy to
true.
isn't that crazy to think
It's
about though, where you can picture any conversation you've had with
mhm,
anyone, right?
yeah.
And you think you know
Oh, you
exactly what
think
was
it you think
said.
it's so clear. You have those
And
formative memories from childhood that you think are so clear and so sensuous. If you could
yeah,
contrive to go back and look at what happened from the outside, you would find that it's completely different.
and this is why, if anyone's ever like, oh, well, actually, no, you said this, I'm like, oh,
Mm,
maybe I did.
yeah.
Because that was an enlightening thing to learn is that
Yes.
a lot of don't let people gaslight you or anything. Like
Right,
if
right.
something's just happened and you know it just happened,
You
that's
know it
different. But
happened,
like
yeah.
if we're talking something from years past and I
Mhm.
swear I remember, but somebody else's take on it is completely different. I'm like, oh
This
well,
is it.
I don't
Right.
know then. I maybe one of us is
We
misremembering, or both of us are.
Yes,
Like
we
it's
culturally misconceive what memory is ultimately. We think of it as a record, and it's not a record. It doesn't work like that. It's
no,
this
it's
weird flux, of it's mostly imagination because imagination edits memory
yeah,
in relation to our requirements of it. So our like, our biases, our desires, our experiences. With regards to our narratives of identity, and that doesn't make it worthless, by the way. That's the other thing. But it doesn't make it worthless at all. It's still really important because it's like the formative stuff of who we are. But we need to
yeah,
acknowledge that it's not about a record of reality. It's not like a videotape or something like that. It doesn't work like that. It's something else. It's this weird, almost like dreamlike flux of stuff that
Yeah, and
changes and alters and shifts about the place as you age. And of course, as you age, it gets even less reliable.
yeah, and I like that that was brought into this show because they're vampires that have been
They're
alive
immortal,
for
right?
hundreds of years. So of course, Louis
Yes.
is going to be misremembering things, and his
Yeah.
account, like, and he said one thing in 1990 or whatever it was to
Hmm.
David, and now he's telling it again, and
Yes.
he's got a different, slightly different version. He's like, hang on a minute, like, um, and yeah, I really liked that that was used,
I
and
thought that was brilliant myself because, like, our mental architecture isn't really made for immortality, right?
yeah,
On average,
yeah,
how long do human beings live? Maximum 100 years. That's like maximum best case scenario.
yeah.
So you've got creatures that have lived 3 or 4 times that,
Hmm.
and
And
yeah,
I
what
think
happens to
I
memory
think
then?
I don't I, that's the other thing. I really liked that more perspective was kind of worked in outside
Yeah.
of just Louis' perspective. So like towards
I
the
liked
end,
that. I really liked that. I
yeah,
thought that was smart. I thought that was a really smart way of making everyone in it unreliable. Like
yeah.
everyone who's telling their story is unreliable in this film, in this
And
series rather. I loved that.
some people are just unreliable and some people are
Mm.
lying assholes.
Oh, some are
And
just lying. Yes.
lying assholes. And this is the thing
Armand.
about
Mm.
yeah, so this was the thing about Louis and Lestat for me. Towards the end of that second season when they started reframing some of the stuff
Hmm.
Louis had said.
Yeah.
And when Daniel's like, "Are you sure it was there was no one else in the room that could have
Yeah.
stopped everyone condemning you?" And then Armand just took the credit, like flat out said that that was him.
Yeah.
Um, and thought Louis would never find out, but it was Lestat. And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh," and
Jeez.
Lestat didn't even tell him at the
Yeah.
time. Oh my God!
Wow.
See, this is a thing because I just want to quickly say about the performances
Mhm.
because they those guys really sold that love to me
Oh,
because
it's really powerful actually. There's such
oh God,
intensity to it. There's such intensity. And
I
it's
don't know if I've
married
ever
to like
cried that much. They were like
I know.
there
It's
were
like
scenes where I was like, just stop being horrible to each
just
other
yes,
because it's like
just
it's
please.
heartbreaking.
Yeah, please just because like, you're probably never gonna find anybody else like in your culture or community, your communities of vampires. The
It's just
the
tragic.
right,
Um,
it really is,
and
that the fact they can't just be. They can't just be together without all of this bullshit, the
yeah, I just
drama, the power plays, the
I
ridiculous
oh the
power
power plays.
plays.
The just a quick caveat though, because we've already said like these two are they are in an abusive dynamic.
Yes, they are.
Just if in the real world of like human
Mhm.
relationships, I would not be like, oh, but the love. I just want
Oh,
to make that
fuck
really
that.
clear.
No,
If
absolutely
you're in
not.
a
No, 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 no.
if
This
you're
is
in a
not
bad
that.
situation,
No.
try and get out. But
Get
like,
out.
it's the world of the vampire because their
Yes.
parameters for everything is different.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
like um, and I think something that was I gotta say this set just so many times something I think was done really well. So like I think that the film version captured the book, and I think that
Yeah.
the show might have elevated the material a little
I
bit because
I would say so. Yeah, I think so because I think what it does, which is really beautiful, and sometimes this works and sometimes it really doesn't, but it just takes the subtexts of the book and
mhm,
elevates them. It brings them into the fore, it makes them text.
because
And
yeah,
I
because
think
in
that's the only way to do this story now because like if they'd actually done the series almost verbatim the book, where it would have basically been queer baiting at this point. It would have been like, oh, they're
yeah,
kind of coded gay, but they're not gay, and that would have been frustrating and kind of insulting at this point.
at this point,
So
yeah, because I think when Anne Rice wrote these books, so for anyone who's like seen any of the screen iterations but they haven't
mm,
read the books, Anne Rice's book vampires are like there are instances where it's like mentioned that
mm,
like someone's had sex or something,
Yeah.
but it's really not a priority. Like it's not something that they think about very much, the vampires, but they are
No.
very deeply passionate in their relationships. So like
Yes.
they and you know, sexuality doesn't even really come into it in the
It
vampire world. It's
really
like
doesn't. It's more it's domestic, isn't it, more than anything? It's just it's
it
homo-romantic.
and like it doesn't seem, yeah, people like vampires that are sort of like pairing up or forging these bonds where they want to be
Mm.
together, like it just doesn't, straight and gay and bi doesn't, it doesn't
It's not
really,
even a
it's
thing,
just
is it?
it's
I
irrelevant.
mean,
Yeah,
it's companionship more than anything, isn't it? Because they get bored and they get lonely. You know,
yeah,
they tend to lose everyone around them. And,
yeah,
you know,
but I
they're
do.
moving through eternity alone.
Mhm.
That's Lestat's whole thing, isn't it? That's Lestat's whole thing. He's moving through eternity without anyone, and he's been
Yeah,
variously like abused himself. By the way, this series makes that really clear. Like he was massively abused. Um,
yeah, the guy who made him was
yeah,
terrible,
yeah,
um and yeah, he had a bad life before and
hmm
everything as well. But I just, oh my God, like there were scenes where I was just like, oh my God, I am bawling
hmm
my eyes out. Like my
yeah,
heart is broken. I
yeah.
can't believe it. And like the end of season two, I was just like, oh God, but like
Mm,
they're together and like there's like a
mm,
hurricane or something, isn't there? The storm.
yes,
And they just have this like
yes.
really tender moment where they're talking about like the last time they saw each other, really, and when Claudia died. And
Yeah, so they've been
um
apart for like what centuries at that point?
yeah, and it's just, oh my God, like
Yeah.
I just can't get over how good they were in those, like,
No, they're
because
brilliant. I mean, like the cast is incredible, and the acting direction is really, really good. Everybody's, I mean, like it is like a cast of vampires, so everyone is kind of beautiful as well. You know,
yeah.
everybody's beautiful in their own peculiar ways. I can never remember the vampire's name, but the guy who leads the troupe of actors.
Oh,
Oh,
I did know, and it's escaped me.
yeah, he's got a very particular
Santiago.
Santiago
Yeah,
in this is I love him.
yeah.
I
He's
loved him in this. I thought he was so spectacular.
mhm. Yeah, God, they were just all like,
All of them.
they really nailed it. Like the
Yeah,
casting was so good, and they like
so
it.
good.
And like the atmosphere, like the set pieces and the costume design, that was something I loved about
Beautiful.
the film. Is it
Yeah.
just it's really immersive for the time period,
Lavish.
and I think
Lavish and
yeah, and
big and
I
lovely.
think they did a great job here because we're cutting between modern day in,
Mm.
you know, Louis' place in Abu Dhabi,
Yeah.
or Dubai or wherever he is. One of them, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, one of them.
I think it's Dubai. I think he's in
Dubai,
Dubai.
Dubai.
Yeah.
That's right. I said Abu Dhabi, I think, because I'm supposed to be going on holiday there this month, which is no longer
Right.
happening.
Oh
Um,
no. Oh,
yes,
oh
because
right,
of
yes.
conflict stuff. But
Fucking
yeah, but like yeah,
yes.
Louis like quite nice modern, like with classic flair, but it's a modern place, and
Mm.
funny that he's in Dubai because the sun is so hot there. So like, I really liked that.
Right.
But then it's cutting between that and like the way that Louis had that place decorated,
Yes.
and then various points of the past as well and
Mm.
various locations. And I just think they did such a great job with the yeah, whoever was on set design and
Oh,
costume and everything.
on
Just
point, right?
yeah,
Completely on point. And I also love the way they drew, and this must have been very, very difficult to conceive of for one thing, but also to orchestrate. There's a pronounced difference between the Louis that we see who's giving his confession and the Louis that who is the
yes,
subject of the confession.
yeah.
Because
Even his
there's like,
accent.
yeah, everything
Yeah, yeah.
changes. His demeanor changes. Like the desperation and the emotion of the earlier versions of Louis goes away, becomes very cold and very uh,
Hmm.
detached and remote in his
Hmm.
present day incarnation. Because of course he's lived for so long and he's seen so much, and nothing phases him that much anymore. He's kind of bored, like a lot of the vampires are. Um,
Yeah, I do you know, I really liked that every now and then there was like a little twist
yes,
that you just didn't
yeah,
see coming. And you I liked, I never thought about a twist that might be coming because I was
mhm,
very like taken with the storytelling, so I wasn't
yes,
really thinking ahead. But one thing I thought that they were going to do when they were plotting to kill Lestat,
yeah,
and Claudia and Louis are talking telepathically to each other all the time. And
Mhm.
such great comedy in some of those scenes where Lestat's getting
Yes.
annoyed because he knows that they're talking.
Yeah.
Um, I thought that he was going to undo the plan because he could hear them the
Oh, we
whole
could hear
time.
them the whole time.
I
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
I thought I know that that was like a rule they established that
Mm.
the creator and the fledgling can't
Yeah,
do that. But I
yeah.
just thought, what if he lied? Because
Yes, what if
Lestat
he
lies.
right? But yeah, all the
Um,
time, right? He's an inveterate liar, so maybe
yeah.
yeah, that would have been
And
cool.
I thought maybe he just said that because he's
Mm.
clever and he just
Yes.
wanted to make because he's so paranoid about people leaving him.
Yes.
I thought maybe he'd like just completely lied about it and that he
Yeah.
was going to be like, yeah, I've been listening to you fucks the whole time.
Yeah, right. So
um,
calm down, all right? Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah. I was like,
I was
ah, I
shocked by this. I'll be honest, I was shocked by the whole series. Because I went
yeah,
into it thinking, yeah, it might be fine. I'm sure it'll be entertaining if nothing else. Everybody's hot, so that's one thing. Um, but I
yeah.
was shocked by how good it was. I was shocked by how good it was and compelling, and how good the writing was, and the
It
the
was just so
pathos.
beautiful.
Yeah, the
Oh yeah,
incredible pathos of it. Like, I really felt for these guys. I mean, by the end of like the film Interview with a Vampire, Louis can be a bit annoying. It is because
yeah,
he's meant to be, right? Lestat is kind of right. It's like, come on, Louis, you're immortal, you're beautiful, you can do more or less whatever you like. Stop being such a pansy about it, right? The 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 series gets that and runs with it in such a beautiful
hmm
way and makes it part of its complexity. It's really clever. It's really smart and introduces all
yeah,
these wonderful ambiguities. And a lot of it is introduced through Daniel. It's Daniel.
yeah,
Daniel has this great thing where he just punctures the romance. He punctures all
yeah.
of like and some, I imagine some viewers might respond to that negatively. They might feel like, oh, I wanted it to be purer than that. I wanted it to be cleaner than that. But I loved that note of bitterness that he introduced and that note of ambiguity where he's calling them on their hypocrisies, right? He's
I think
calling them on it.
he's reminding us as well because
Yes.
again because these characters played the intense love so well
Yep.
that every time one of them did something like because there's that scene where like Lestat drops Louis from Lestat and they have that horrible fight and
Oh, that's
it's
horrible.
it's horrible.
Yeah, I hate
And
that one.
I think that that's what everybody remembers. So you think like Lestat is the worst one. He's more
Hmm.
manipulative and stuff. But I forgot when I rewatched it and I forgot that there's that whole drags on for like decades when Claudia
Hmm.
leaves
Yeah.
and Louis just completely ignoring him
Uh-huh.
and he's not and I was like and so Lestat's getting a
Hmm.
bit like he doesn't love me. He's like, and I forgot that because I was remembering more extreme
Of course.
stuff,
Yeah.
but I was like,
It's
no, like,
it's
it,
mutually abusive, the relationship. It's really dark. It's
yeah,
darker than it
it
is
is.
in the film. It's darker than it is in the film and the novel. That's for damn sure.
Oh,
It's much more
yeah,
extreme. That's for
they
damn
went
sure.
they went deeper with it and I what I liked was sometimes like because Louis is like recounting these memories so he's
Hmm.
like oh and then there was this fight but then I spoke to him again and then
Hmm.
I he wrote this song and got that woman he cheated on me with to sing and he was so angry he went over there and all this and like and you kind of because you like really believe like that relationship and you keep
Hmm.
wanting to see it work out
Yeah.
I think we are but like we forget wait no this if these were human characters you'd be so horrified
Oh yeah. If this
at the
was if
thought of
these yeah, if these were human, it would be like leave, guys. Both of
yeah
you
and
turn
if
around and walk in opposite directions for as long as you can go. Yeah.
and if Louis wasn't so um sensitive and driven and like admiral qualities and if Lestat wasn't so funny you'd be
Mhm.
like oh just split up for God's
Yes,
sake
just
and I
absolutely, yeah, just
so
divorce, guys. Just split up for God's sake.
but we forgive them a lot because again it's fiction but
Yeah.
what I liked about Daniel is like Louis would have already told him this horrible incident and then be like but then Lestat and he's
Mhm.
like oh so you just went right back over there
Yeah, this is
like
it, right? Daniel
he's
is like, no,
talking
you are the abused wife who keeps going back. after they've
Yeah, and
been
I
beaten, basically.
thought that that was a good reminder to the audience of like,
Yeah,
because that's exactly, if you sat down and told a friend,
yeah.
oh, this incident happened at home, and
It's
then I just
clever.
and then you start like lamenting the romance, your friend would be like, what are you talking about?
Yes, it's a
Like,
grounding element, isn't it? That's what Daniel
yeah.
brings. It's this real grounding element where he's looking at, I mean, the show very deliberately is looking at how problematic romanticization of vampires actually is. And the,
Oh,
I
in
mean, even
general,
yeah,
yeah.
in general, and the sort of the issues that derive from kind of what Anne Rice facilitated in the 1990s. It's really very clever.
Hmm.
Very, very clever indeed. And yeah, I mean, it can feel like, oh, you're puncturing the romance. Oh, but that's what it's for. And I loved the layers that added, and also, I mean, like the control and the dynamism that gave to Daniel. Because like in the
Hmm.
books, he's got no agency at all. He's completely passive. He's got no character at all, really. He's just there as a framing device, and that's it. Here,
Yeah.
and also, I mean, I love the actor who played him. I love him to bits. Jewish actor. I can never remember his name. Really, really cool.
Oh, I can't remember it. I'm having trouble. I only remembered Sam Reed because
Yes.
I looked him up right before, but I
Right.
can't remember who played any of these. What I really liked about Daniel and the way that this actor played Daniel here as well
Mhm.
is that because this feels like a continuation from the film
Yeah.
again because it's like it's the same source material, but they I really felt like they were honoring maybe not Queen of the Damned, but just
Mhm,
forget about
mhm. Although that's that's the next
doesn't
season,
really
isn't it?
count.
By all accounts, that's the next
I
season,
am
isn't it? That
I
story.
I have never been so excited in my life for another season of something.
Right.
I got to the end of season two and I was like, oh, and it felt like a complete story. Like they
Yeah,
could stop there.
absolutely.
Um, and we can speculate on what might have happened
Mhm,
between everybody. But then I saw, oh, the vampire Lestat is next, and I was
mhm,
like,
mhm.
oh my god! And I don't normally watch clips or trailers, but I was like, oh my
Yeah.
god, are they clips and trailers? And I
I
and
mean, I imagine this is going to be the most changed of all of the stories, because I think there are certain things they're probably just not going to introduce. Demons and things like that
well, yeah,
probably aren't going to be in it.
probably not. The what I never liked about the Queen of the Damned film, I get, this is it's just a completely different level of
Mhm.
whatever. But like it was like it 'cause the Vampire Lestat and the Queen of the Damned are two separate books, and it was
Yes.
like they merged them to make the Queen of the Damned,
Yeah.
but left out all of the really good bits from
Good
both
stuff,
books.
right?
It was like
Yeah. It's like,
like that's what I
yeah,
mean. Like I feel
let's
I
take
felt
the
like they
worst
missed.
bits of both of these books and discard all like the meat. We'll just have the entrails, thank you.
But what I'm really excited about for this upcoming show is in the Vampire Lestat, the book. That's the story of Lestat getting depressed and just going to
Mm,
sleep for hundreds of years or 100 years or whatever it is. And that's also the story where he um finds Akasha in the wherever she's being kept. And then the Queen of the Damned is a separate, like
yeah.
directly follows on, obviously, but that's then the start of that story with the Queen of the Damned. So
Yes.
Akasha isn't like a focal point in the Vampire Lestat, but
Mm,
it's like a setup for a bit later and some stuff.
mhm.
And I felt like it got really rushed through in the film they made with
Definitely.
like they were like, oh, and then he found the statue and blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
and now he's a rock star and he's not wearing a top for the rest of the film, guys. And like,
Yeah.
um, which no complaints or anything. I'm just saying.
Mm,
And
yeah, yeah.
but I saw some bits of the upcoming show, some clips and
Mm.
stuff, and some of the stuff looks really funny. I saw this one clip of Lestat picking up the book in a bookshop,
Ah.
and he's just like gulping at it, like what? Like reading it, and I thought I'll stop watching stuff now because I want to like
Yeah.
wait till the show comes out. But I
Well,
do
that's quite
remember,
cool actually, because that kind of is the show signifying, well, this is going to be different. This is not going to be like what's
yeah,
technic, you know.
he's like skulked into a bookshop in France with his sunglasses on, and he finds a copy of Interview with the Vampire, and he's like, just seems pissed. It was so funny, and I think that he really got the comedy of the character because like Lestat's a cruel character in the book, but
Oh
I
yeah.
do think that they humanized the vampires a bit for this show
Mm.
because they're a bit like they're almost ethereal in the
They
books. They're
are in the
so
books. They're so elevated. They're almost like there's like a dark angel quality to them in the
yeah,
books.
they're not like concerned with human stuff, and like it's not that they don't have feelings. I
Mm.
think in the books they feel more deeply, but they're
Yes.
not. But a lot of stuff is deemed very trivial and not even
Yeah.
worth the headspace. So like they just don't operate like regular people, and
Hmm.
they do have that in the show. Of they're more
Yeah.
concerned with like you know what like they feel very deeply, but I do think that they humanized him a bit. I think
Definitely.
the
Definitely. They.
hu the humor that Tom Cruise had
Huh.
in like it was all cruel,
Mhm.
like so, and then in the show they were just moments of like he's just popped off a one liner
Yeah.
every now and then like
Stat in the show has a lot more levity about him.
mhm.
He's, it's not all vicious or sadistic. That's not like the through line of his character,
No,
which it
I
is for
saw this.
Lestat in the film. He just enjoys being a bastard, doesn't he? He enjoys
Yeah,
killing. He enjoys pain.
yeah, I God, I somebody on YouTube edited together a video and it's like Lestat's funniest moments, but they called it something like Lestat is the best bitch, and it was just like a compilation of Lestat being
Mm.
sassy through the show, and I was like, oh,
That's the
he is,
other thing they
he's
do right. They're all very gay. Like all of them, like
yeah.
most of the male characters in this show are very gay, and very sassy indeed. They've got real wit.
Claudia was sassy as well, and
Yeah,
but
Claudia's
like
great,
I think I loved film Claudia. I Kirsten Dunst
brilliant. Oh my
absolutely
god,
nailed.
I whenever I watch that film, I can't. She's mesmerizing because she
Yeah,
captures that thing, which Claudia is effectively a woman in a child's body, right?
yeah.
And
I don't know
she,
how,
I
but she
I
was an
don't know.
actual child. She was a
Yeah,
little child when she
yeah,
played that role, and I think it was her first role,
yeah.
or one of her first roles, or maybe a first major one. And
Hmm.
I thought for an actual child that's got no concept of
Right.
adulthood at all, to be able
Yeah.
to, because I thought
Wow.
she pulled off grown woman in a trapped in child's body, because there was
Just
like a maturity in like the
yes.
back half of to her character, and I was like, Jesus Christ, like she's
It's
like,
the way
yeah,
she
she's
interacts with like Louis and the other characters, and the way she is so adult. She's so profoundly adult in that film. She
she
carries a
goes,
certain weight about her, doesn't she? Like an ennui, which is it's an adult
yeah,
ennui.
she,
It's brilliant, honestly.
she's really good, and I do agree with not casting a child in a role in a show like
Mhm.
this though.
Totally,
I
they age her up, don't they? They age her up in this.
yeah, I think she's supposed to be 14 in the
Something like
show,
that, yeah.
and the two actors that played Claudia were like I don't know, like 23 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I saw people bitching about that. It's like, oh, we're meant to believe that Claudia's a 40, she looks like a 20-year-old woman. And I'm like, yeah, but given the subject matter,
Yes.
I don't care. Like
No, that's
I
fine.
don't
And
I don't
also,
care.
I mean, you have to bear in mind she's supposed to be from an earlier era, and people did look older. Have you ever seen photographs of like your parents and grandparents from when they were like our
Yeah,
age? And people just
it's
did
fine.
look older.
Yeah,
Um,
I got no qualms just suspending my disbelief to
no, it's
just
fine.
accept that an actual child wasn't
Yeah,
cast to play that role in a show
absolutely.
where like there's sexual stuff,
Yeah,
really
yeah.
bad language, and the violence and
There's
like
abuse.
it's
There's all sorts of stuff going on. Yeah,
yeah, I
it's
don't think a kid should be performed, but I think what they gave Kirsten Dunst wasn't it like it wasn't as extreme as it is in the show.
Oh no, definitely not. I mean, like the character Claudia in the show is she's much more tormented. Like in the film, it's like everything else. It's more ethereal, isn't it? It's existential ennui that she has going on.
Yeah,
It's the fact that she'll never grow up. It's the
yeah, and
whereas the show version of Claudia. She's not as passive. So she's like, "Oh yeah, I'll never grow up. I'll never be like fully developed." But she goes out and gets the experiences anyway.
Yeah. Oh God, those scenes make me so sad when she
Yeah,
comes back and she's killed her boyfriend. Like I was like,
yeah,
oh God. But yeah, that's for me. Like I feel like it elevated the source material because
yeah, definitely.
they went a bit deeper. And I think I think maybe like one of the reasons that they just made these relationships like put the relationships on the surface rather than
Mm,
hiding them in subtext, like because they didn't have to worry about, censors and backlash.
right.
It not in this day and age to the extent that it
Yeah,
would have
not to the
been in
certainly not to the
1990.
same extent. No.
But I think like it was so that we'd relate to the characters a little bit more as well
Mm,
because Claudia breaking her heart because she just lost her mind for a second there and
yeah,
bit her boyfriend. Like I was like, oh, that's so sad, and
it's
Lestat's just being
really.
mean about it.
Yeah, yeah, he's just being a right
Oh,
bitch about it. A
he's
real
just
swine bag. Yeah. Um, yeah, it's beautiful. It really is, and I really love the way that kind of becomes. It becomes like a macrocosm of the tensions between any parent and child. The things
mhm.
that occur, the tensions and the misunderstandings and whatnot are just elevated here. They're operating on a slightly different plane because of the immortality and whatnot, and it's so interesting. It's so fascinating, and of course the nature of parent and child is different because they're
Yeah,
conceived differently.
and like Lestat didn't want to do it in the first place,
Yeah,
and
Lestat didn't want to do it. Yeah. Oh my God.
because he knew that it was going to be a bad time for Claudia to be stuck
Yes.
in adolescence forever.
It's a real selfish thing that Louis does. It's really
It
selfish.
it is. I think that was because he just feels so guilty. Like
Hmm.
he just wants to alleviate his own guilt. But then Lestat is
Yeah.
kind of right because Claudia does have a
Hmm.
really rough run of it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Maybe the
and
roughest of all of them?
I there's a bit in the film that cracks me up every single time. It's making me laugh now I'm thinking about it. Just when when they first adopt her
Yeah.
and they're like teaching her the ways
Hmm.
of vampirism, and like he Lestat walks in and she's playing the piano and she's killed the
Yeah.
piano teacher and
Oh
he's like,
yeah. And he just
Claudia,
falls. Yeah.
what
Claudia. Yeah.
what did we tell you? She's like, never in the house.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
Brilliant.
Um,
Absolute brilliance. Yeah, I love that sequence where it's very Ozzy and Harriet. It's very domestic.
And I think they captured that in the show as well, but it just
Hmm.
went a bit deeper with the level of resentment. There's
Yeah.
that scene where Claudia is finally winning a chess game against Lestat, and then instead of
Yes.
just winning, she just leaves. So she's got like one move left to
Yeah.
win, and Lestat knows she's going to win, and she's like,
Yeah.
"I'm going to bed," and he's like, "No, no, no,
Uh-huh.
finish the game." And
Yeah.
it's so petty, but
Yeah.
I was like, "No,
Wow.
that's like
Wow.
I just think that the writing is um
It's very good.
God, like
It is
it's
very good. And like they've done that brilliant thing that good TV often does where they've saved themselves a lot of problems by just casting it correctly. I mean, the
oh
everybody is
yeah, yeah,
perfect, everybody's fantastic, but also the chemistry between the actors is really strong. So,
yeah.
like, I mean, oh my God, the actors who play Louis and Lestat, when they're together, it's so intense. Whatever it
Hmm.
is, whether it's the love scenes, the sex scenes, whether it's the arguments, the violence, it's always so impassioned. And
Yeah.
even right at the end, in the midst of the hurricane, when they reconcile to a certain degree, and insofar as they can, it's really
Mhm.
powerful. It's really
Yeah.
intense, and it's
Oh,
because of the actors more than anything.
one of the scenes that's one of the most memorable scenes for me. And again, I was crying at that one because I didn't know if they were like reconciling as in they'd get back together.
Hmm.
But my kind of takeaway from it was that they'd like forgiven each other.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and and that was and like Louis had learned that it was Lestat actually that saved him, and
Yes. Yeah.
Lestat faced getting Claudia killed
Mhm.
because I think he thought he wanted that and then
Yeah.
didn't when
Yeah.
but it was too late, like the wheels were in motion then. And
Yeah.
um it's such a beautiful scene.
It is, and I mean, you've got all that wonderful span of time as well at that point.
Mhm.
So enough time has passed where they realize that all of these games and these betrayals and it's petty ultimately, isn't it? In the face of immortality and eternity, it's pointless. It's utterly petty. So you may as well just sort of surrender to what you know. The love that you know is there.
Mm.
Um,
It's just the chemistry between all of the characters in the show and the film are
yeah,
fantastic. I believed it, show and film. I
yeah.
think the performances are probably equal. I think I prefer Sam Reed's Lestat,
Hmm,
but
hmm.
but only maybe because of the writing of
Yeah.
because Tom Cruise was like he did capture
He's
the book
very good.
character.
I mean, he's very good. I mean, again, it's always surprising to me how good he actually is as Lestat. Um,
Also, Brad Pitt as Louis, I
yeah,
like that's a bit of a surprise because I thought he played that really well as
he's
well.
very good.
But
I mean, like, Brad Pitt, I actually do quite like as an actor. I've got to say, I think what
mhm,
happens with Brad Pitt is he tends to be underestimated because he is pretty. It's really
yeah,
strange.
I
People
agree.
tend to think of him as the pretty boy, and therefore that he's not. That's why he's in the film. It's not because he's good at what he does. But then I look at some of the roles he's played. I look at Tyler Durden in Fight Club, and it's
Yeah,
just
he's
a
great.
fantastic
Yeah.
performance. I mean, genuinely bloody fantastic performance. His character in 12 Monkeys, brilliant, absolutely amazing. He can, man can act. He can do
Yeah.
it. He's very good, and I think he's very. I mean, he's very young in Interview with the Vampire. I mean, like
Hmm.
very young indeed. Um, but he does get that strange ethereal confusion that the newborn vampires have. I
Hmm.
love
Hmm.
that. And that's sort of like that element that he has of seeking after himself, seeking for some purpose or identity or whatnot. That's really cool too. I like that. And you've got Antonio Banderas as Armand in that one, of course, and I love that casting. Love that casting so much. In fact, Armand in the film is my favorite. Oh, hello. Oh no, have we dropped out? Oh, hello. Oh no.
Recording stopped.
Ah!
Right.
Oh, hello. You okay?
Sorry, George.
No, it's
We
okay. No problem. It happens. It happens.
we just go back on record. Yeah, we changed our internet provider to
Mhm.
apparently have better internet, and it just
Right.
cuts out upstairs
Recording in progress.
all the
Oh,
time.
oh
So
no.
yeah, so sorry everybody. Just my
Yeah.
internet just inexplicably interrupted George mid-sentence there, cut me off.
No problem. Technical issues, right? Technical issues.
Yes.
It happens. It
Um,
happens.
right.
Um,
I have a tech husband. He'll take care of it.
so no, I
Probably
was
with some
just
annoying cable that I don't want running through the
some
house, but
species of annoying cable. Yeah. I was just saying that, like, Armand in the film Antonio Banderas, that I think he may actually be my favorite of the vampires in the film.
oh, in the film,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, because he's the
yeah,
oldest vampire, isn't he? At that point, he's the oldest known living vampire. Um,
yes, that's right, yeah,
there's that whole
yeah,
wonderful sort of existential thing going on with the vampires in that regard, where he says something along the lines of, I have lived, I think it's like 500 years, isn't it? Something ridiculous like that. And he says,
hmm
like, I have never learned a secret or seen a miracle or anything that
hmm
explains anything about us or that suggests any wider power in the world. We just are, you know?
hmm
And that's really cool. I like that because, of course, film Louis is slightly different from series Louis. Film Louis is like seeking after this stuff. He wants to know. He wants some
hmm
reason for his existence. And Lestat is kind of eye rolling about it, isn't he? He's kind of like, it doesn't matter,
yeah,
just let it be, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. I think the Lestat's a bit more experienced though, and I think
Yes,
the answers he had found out so far were not
this,
very illuminating or.
I think that's it. I really think that's it because Lestat has the benefit of being the older vampire, right?
Hmm
So he's gone through this process. He's gone through all of this. So Louis is kind of at a teenage stage at this point. Um,
hmm
and he's asking all those big questions, and nobody's got an answer for him. No, because there is no answer, right? Certainly in the world
hmm
of the books, there's no grand answer as to why the vampires exist or anything like that.
Well, there's an answer in Queen of the Damned
Yes.
for but I haven't read. I read a few books past that one, and
hmm
apparently there's some crazy
hmm
explanation that is
Yeah.
expanded on later on. I think I'll just leave it at the point where
Yeah,
I
I think
stopped
that's
reading.
wise. I like the world of the films and the series where it's not explained, where there's no background, there's no real mythology for the vampires. They just are,
Hmm
right?
Yeah,
It's a mystery. It's a mystery. Nobody really knows why they exist. I like that. I've got to say, I really like that.
yeah. I enjoy things just being
hmm
like they're just there, and yeah, that's fun to me.
Well, it gives them a certain resonance. It gives them this air of mystery, and also the existential crises are always going to be there in that instance. So you've got this eternal well of storytelling,
Mhm.
which I like.
Oh God, I've just really enjoyed the stuff that has been done with this
Mm,
IP. Like,
totally.
the there's a I like that Lestat's brutality was expanded on in the show, even more
Mm.
than it was in the film,
Oh, totally.
because he
Yeah.
because he does not come across as a nice guy in the film, and he's
No.
not. But there's more nuance to him as which is a bit more truthful to the book, I
Yeah.
think, in the show.
Yeah.
Um, it explores his psyche a little bit more.
hmm
But one of the things I liked, because this is a problem that I sometimes have with vampire fiction, and again,
hmm
I know this is fiction,
hmm
but because vampires they tend to be wish fulfillment characters. People are
Totally.
afraid
Yeah.
of getting old. People want to feel
Yeah.
strong and
And
young and beautiful.
beautiful. Yeah. All of
And
that stuff. It's a kind of power fantasy, ultimately, isn't it?
yeah, and like move through life without the fear of death, and like that
That's it.
idea of just
Right.
just having enough time to like
Yeah.
not have to worry about time. Which obviously there's like the other end to that, but I think for people vampires are very desirable monsters to
Very much
be.
so.
Like they kind of like nobody would want to be a zombie,
Yep.
and then people would probably be on the fence about being a werewolf, like
hmm
depending
hmm
on which werewolf
What mythology
property
you
you're
go
in.
for? Yes, of course.
Um, but vampires are just strong and beautiful, probably have
Hmm.
superpowers,
Yeah.
and people. I think a lot of people would take the trade-off
Mm.
of having to drink blood,
Yeah.
like because you get your ethical, but like which I
Hmm.
think might have started with Louis eating the rats and stuff because he doesn't want to eat
Yes,
people.
absolutely. I mean, there's I can't remember what I don't think it's any of Anne Rice's books, but there was a series of books in the 90s about vampires, and there was an ethical vampire in that who used to break into blood banks,
Hmm.
just drink blood out of the bags.
Yeah, there's well, ethical kind of,
Mm. And Louis has kind
but
of done that, hasn't he? In
yeah.
the like the present day Louis in the series has kind of found a way around that.
Well, he has like paid donors or
Yeah,
whatever, which that's pretty as probably as ethical as you can go.
it's about
Uh,
as
you
ethical
know,
as you can get it, isn't it? Yeah.
but I feel like if the books didn't exist, I
Hmm.
feel like a lot of I don't think people realize how much we owe to Anne Rice for better or worse with some of the
Mm.
stuff that's come out. Like the adaptation of the Sookie Stackhouse novels,
Hmm. Hmm.
the True Blood. I don't
Yeah.
know. Have you
Oh
read?
God,
Have you
no.
read?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've read True Blood and I've seen the series. Obviously,
So
Yeah,
the
that
how
absolutely would not exist without Anne Rice. That is like it is the child of Anne Rice's vampire fiction.
and also the way they adapt it, because I think that the show is far superior to the books,
Yeah, I
True
like
Blood,
the show. I love the show much more.
because they kind of went with the Anne Rice mode of
Hmm.
sexuality is completely irrelevant.
Yep.
Like your orientation is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's kind of like the
Well, why? I
Todd
mean,
from
like
the
on any.
original Scrub series. He's like the Todd
Yeah.
appreciates hot
Yeah.
regardless of gender.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like on a scale of immortality, when you're elevated above all of the petty concerns of culture and whatnot, then yeah, what would limitations like that even mean? What would identities like that even mean? Probably
Yeah,
nothing.
I
Probably
think I
nothing.
think if they'd adapted those Sookie books as the
Hmm.
books were, it would have been a I I did I read like 10 of them, and I
Hmm.
know there are more. And
Oh, there's loads.
the only reason I read 10 of them is because somebody bought me a box set of
Right.
10.
Yeah.
So I was taking they were kind of my book to take if I was on a train or
Yeah.
wherever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I mean, I appreciate that they got the show from them, but I don't think that they're
Mhm.
very good because
No, they're not amazing.
they have a kind of weirdly racist feel. They're
Hmm.
quite close mind. Like I saw some of the show first and then was like,
Hmm.
oh, I'll get the books, and I was
Hmm.
very surprised because I was like, oh, there's like no diversity in these books
Yeah, it's
at
very white.
all. There's
It's very
uh,
white.
it's also quite straight
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
I
Which
don't
the show
know that.
isn't, bizarrely. I mean, like it really,
Yeah, they kind of were like, oh, we kind of like this idea of vampires coming out of the coffin, as they call it,
hmm
to the world. And
yeah,
that's basically what they used because I thought that the characters were all better on the show as well.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
she's quite a I don't think she's a great protagonist
Hmm.
of the
Hmm.
books. She's kind of mean.
Yeah,
We're
but no,
all in her in a monologue.
you are right. I mean, like people do not. I think it's because it's been so long now. But like without Anne Rice's vampire fiction, there's a whole subsection of vampire fiction that just wouldn't exist, or which wouldn't exist in the
Yeah.
same way, certainly, which is the romantic vampire stuff, right?
Yeah, and I know
Um,
people like I prefer well it really depends on the writing of the thing. So
it
in general
depends, yeah. I
I
mean,
say, oh,
like she has this massive influence on queer fiction too. I mean, Lost Souls, Billy Martin's
mhm,
book, Poppy Said Bright.
mhm,
That is effectively Interview with a Vampire with the sex put back in.
mhm, mhm.
That's essentially what it is. It's all of the stuff that's kind of ambiguous and implied in Interview with a Vampire is just front and center in Lost Souls.
Mhm.
So it's the cyberitic element of being a vampire. It's that youthful hunger and desire and just the freedom of it. It's the joy of it. Just put on the
Yeah,
page.
well, I think that Anne Rice's vampires are the best of both worlds because
Hmm.
I enjoy monster vamp like 30 Days of Night vampires.
Yeah, love those. Love them to bits.
I love them.
Hmm.
But if you couldn't really I suppose you could make a compelling show out of that if you would, but
Mhm.
like, there's only so much you can do with human characters hiding from vampires.
Yes, because
Um,
ultimately they're just monsters, aren't they? They're
yeah,
just monsters, and that's kind of it. Whereas the
um,
vampire
yeah,
is very particular in that pantheon of monsters because it's a human monster. It's a monster
yeah,
that you can talk to and that has reason, that you can actually have a conversation with. It's not like a werewolf. You can't have a conversation with a werewolf,
yeah. I
unless it's
like
in its human form, you know?
and
Um,
I like with the show that they really went for it with like Lestat's a monster,
mhm.
with people when it comes to people, because
Yes.
I think that that's where things like so Twilight, for example, they're
Mhm.
all vegetarian vampires.
I
I mean, that's not really that's not horror fiction though.
right. I hate
That's
that
YA.
so much, you know?
It's YA romance basically with
Yeah,
supernatural creatures,
that's
but
it, yeah. And what I love about Twilight, what kills me about it is it wants to have the edge of having the vampires in it, but it wants to defang them. It wants to
it's
take
so
away
funny.
all of everything that makes them essentially vampires, it wants to take away. And it's like
Robert Pattinson talking about Twilight is one of my favorite things in the world, because he's always like, I remember seeing some interview and they like asked him like, what like the best part of playing Edward was or something like
Mhm.
that, and he was like, I didn't really get to do any vampire stuff. Like, I don't get
Right,
to kill anyone,
right.
or and I was just like, that's hilarious. But like, I don't think Twilight would exist at all
Oh,
without
no,
Louis.
absolutely
And
not. I mean, it's a
characters like Angel and Buffy, that's
totally,
that's Louis.
totally.
That's Louis, but just in the modern age in Buffy. Like,
Yeah.
um, I think a lot is owed to Anne Rice, and but the thing that people I think forget, because they know of Anne Rice's stuff,
Mhm.
but they're not very familiar with it maybe, and because people remember Louis from the film more
Yeah.
than Lestat, I think that people forget that Anne Rice's vampires might have been like uh, you know, deep and emotional and complex, but they were
Mhm.
monsters.
They were
Like
monsters, right.
Lestat in the film dancing around with the corpse of Claudia's mum,
Yeah.
and like he's singing, like he's horrible, and
He
because
really is.
they have got absolutely no sentimentality for humans at all, and
Right.
they just it's almost like they view themselves, well, it is like they view themselves as like a superior species, like
Was this
people
and
are
Lestat,
just
like, overtly does, right? Lestat is,
yeah,
almost eugenicist about it.
yeah,
He
whereas like
regards mortals as cattle, ultimately.
yeah, but worse, because I think most of the vampires in Anne Rice's world view humans as cattle, the way that
Mhm.
we view our farms and stuff. But
Yeah.
Lestat really enjoys torturing people,
Yeah.
and like
Lestat is a
emotionally,
sadist. Yeah,
yeah,
he's a
he is.
sadist.
And I think that that's an edge. People, oh, these Anne Rice romantic vampires, and I'm like, oh my God, you guys have like
You don't
so
understand.
missed,
Yeah.
like,
You
like
you
do not compare Edward Cullen
Mhm.
to Lestat. Like
Yeah.
this is
I
not
mean,
like,
there's just
or
no.
even Louis.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I mean, like it's the impotence of the Twilight vampires that always gets me. The total impotence of them, and it's the way
This,
like the writer she wants to have that like that slight edge of having the vampires in her world, but doesn't want them to actually do anything that bad. You know?
yeah, I don't know what it is about Twilight, right? But because I think they're quite bad films and books.
They are.
Like
I
I
mean,
read
don't
I
get me wrong. I get a good chuckle out of some of the films. I do, especially Michael Sheen as Aro.
oh God, he is
Because oh,
so
he's so
he's
goddamn
so
funny.
it's
Because he's
it
like
was
he's doing that British actor thing, isn't he? Of realizing, you know what, I'm in a shit film. I know I'm in a shit film,
I'm
but
just going all out.
yeah,
Like
I'm the Oscar-nominated actor. No one's going to tell me no. So nobody's telling him to dial it down. So it's like
you know.
the takes they use in the films. I'm like, nobody should have used those takes. Nobody,
I
because he's so over the top.
Do you know what really gets me about Twilight? I don't know more because I think that on a writing level, and like obviously some of the ethics of
Oh,
like
the ethics
how
of
they've
those
had
books is
they it's
fucked.
and the way that the film, like stuff like Stephanie Meyer insisting that
Mhm.
all of the Cullens had to be white in the film, like,
Oh,
and I'm
yes,
like, I
yeah,
understand she wrote them like that, but this is the race of the characters isn't
yeah.
relevant, so
Actually, I mean,
I would
that
agree with,
it's kind of
yeah.
much deeper, that is, because she is, not to put too fine a point on it, but she is Mormon, and the Mormon church is a racist church. It has
Well,
historically, it always has been.
it seemed a bit
Um,
racist to me that the only caveat on allowing a black vampire to
mhm.
exist on screen, it had to be one of the bad guy
Of
vampires.
course, yeah, of course,
That so
yeah, and then
that
you've
that
got,
did
you
bother me a
know,
bit.
yeah.
But the thing about those films is like I don't know what it is about them that is so fun
Mhm.
to
Yeah,
rag on.
it
Like
is. It is fun, I've got to say, and
I don't
as I say,
oh,
I like to hate watch the films. I do. That they make me laugh. They
they are
do make
re
me laugh.
I don't know what it is. I've never been able to put my finger on what the balance is there, where I'm like,
Mhm,
these are not good stories, but they
mhm.
are so fun to watch, and I
Yeah.
don't know why. And to this day, God, when did the first one even come? When did they even
Oh,
come
it's
out? Like,
it's a while ago now.
it's a
They're
long
quite
time
old.
ago.
Yeah, they're quite old now.
And to this day, every now and then, something flies into my head about Twilight
Mhm.
out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, the other day, I was like, wait a minute, if Alice's visions are blocked by werewolves and she can't see the
Mhm.
werewolves in her visions, then how did she see that entire battle?
Mhm.
Wait a
Mhm.
minute. If
Yeah.
Alice can't see the werewolves, how come she had a little vision of Renesmee and Jacob
Mhm.
together, which
I,
don't
I
even
mean,
start me, but
by the
oh
way,
my
that
God.
that that whole subplot is like, what the fuck?
This the most responses I've ever had online to anything. It wasn't even on one of my own videos, right? There was a reel. I never comment on reels and
Mhm.
stuff. I just don't do it because sometimes I get halfway through a comment and then I think I can't be
Yeah,
bothered if people
forget it,
reply to
right?
this.
Yeah.
But someone had posted a reel about um the imprinting thing.
Yeah.
Like but the reel was like, oh, love. And I was like, grooming. And
Really?
I posted like the comment I put on there was like, yeah, this they shouldn't have put this in the films. This is a
No,
mistake.
this is
And
a
then,
real mistake.
oh my God, the number of people that came at me for
Oh
writing
yeah.
that. And I was like, guys, we can all enjoy things, but
Mhm.
acknowledge that serious mistakes, like
Oh,
it don't have
absolutely.
to ruin your whole
Yeah, it
enjoyment of the
doesn't.
franchise.
Right.
But I was like, but this is weird, and they shouldn't have
But
put this in.
this is
This. I don't know
creepy.
what they were thinking,
the
and they were
the
like, well, if
child,
you,
the unborn child is being sexualized here. That's the bottom line, isn't it? That is
and
the bottom line. And it's like,
I
it's
will,
weird, man. It's strange.
I will not have anyone tell me that that isn't what's happening because people are like, well, we'll have you know if you actually read the books. I was like, oh, I read the books.
Yeah, I
Oh,
know
I
the
read
books.
the
I've read the
books,
books.
and
I
I
know
was
what's
like,
happening. And I
and
also, by the way, I know the background, that I know the stuff that the books are inspired by, like the
yes,
Mormon
the
mythology.
social
I know
context.
what's going
Um,
on, and it
but
doesn't
they were
make it
like,
better. It doesn't make it any better.
I was like, my dudes, there is not a single example of platonic imprinting in the book
No,
or the films.
no,
And that's all they had to do to fix that problem, by the way, is have some
right.
platonic imprinting.
Yeah. Have it so
Like
that
that,
Jacob is like a protector or a companion to
yeah,
Renesmee, right?
they were like, oh, well, one of the other werewolves imprints on a kid. I'm like, yeah, and that remains to be seen. That's what I mean. Like, there's no
Well,
example of like
yes,
a
that's the
werewolf that imprinted on a kid and they just with like a godparent. There's no
right.
example. All of those imprinting pairings, they're romantic
They're
pairings. So
romantic, yeah.
I was like, if Stephanie Meyer had thought to put a platonic pairing in there,
Then
and then
fine,
they
right?
didn't be then they were and people were like, oh, but in the films Jacob, I was like, yeah, Jacob makes a joke at the end of the last one to Edward and says, so I start calling you dad, as he's
Yeah,
looking
it's
at the 6-year-old. And
creepy.
I was like, I'm sure they thought that was a
Creepy.
really did nobody like did at no point did anybody involved in the making of that film think, oh, actually that
Yeah.
line's a bit
Like
weird.
the actor, I mean, like, why didn't the actor stay and say, I'm not saying that?
Yeah, that like
That's
did nobody
weird.
go, what the
That's
fuck, you
weird.
guys? There's a deleted scene where Edward breaks his arm because he reads his mind and knows that he's
Yeah.
imprinted. And
Uh-huh.
there were people like jumping to like, well, no. But I was like, nah. I was like, come
Hmm.
on, Edward knows what's up. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I was like, this is
Weird.
yeah. It's those are the kind of abuse dynamics that are not fun to discuss.
Yes, and also, what
Jesus.
Renesmee doesn't really have a say in this, does she? What if she tells him to fuck off? What if she's not
Well,
interested in him?
that was
You know?
Bella's point in the book. She's like, well,
Yeah,
the imprintee doesn't really have any kind of
yeah,
yeah, it's no those yeah, that's but like isn't it that's it's crazy because I
yeah.
really don't think that Twilight would exist without Stephanie Meyer without Anne
No,
Rice's
it's true. It is true. It
um
is that there is a, unfortunately, and no, Anne Rice obviously couldn't predict this or anything, but there is a direct sort of familial link between the Interview with the Vampire books and
yeah
Twilight.
and
There
and
is.
and things like the Vampire Diaries as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely.
Um
Buffy. I mean, pretty much, it's hard to write vampire fiction now without it having some influence from Anne Rice. Even if you're
mhm.
like deliberately reacting against it and you're trying to do the more monstrous vampire again, that reaction becomes a familial link, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It means that to some degree her work has informed what you're doing or influenced what you're doing. So,
yeah. I think that Buffy was created without Anne Rice consciously in mind, but I think
mm,
that when they brought Angel in, because
well,
they
that's it.
I remember a scene where like it's like a flashback to Angel like in
Hmm.
the past, and he's like crawling around in the gutter trying to catch rats,
Yes,
and I
yeah.
was like, oh, that is
That's
so
it's
Louis.
it's
Like
Louis,
that's
yeah.
um. So I think that maybe but Buffy paid homage to a lot of vampire stuff, so I
Oh,
think
yeah,
that like
absolutely. That's the other
Angel's an
right.
intentional.
That's the other
Here's a
thing, right?
quest.
Because like Buffy is this giant grab bag of like influences from all over the shop, right?
Did you watch it?
What Buffy on and off when I
Yeah.
was a kid. It was kind of like the kind of thing where I dip in and dip out. I was never that
Well,
interested in the longer form
mhm.
storylines or anything, but like the odd episode I liked.
Did you ever see the Dracula episode?
I didn't.
It
No.
was hilarious.
Ha.
It was hilarious. Like it was really good. It was like one of the more comedy like episodes.
Uh-huh.
Turned Xander into Renfield, and
Oh, right. Okay.
it was funny. This segues me nicely actually, because here's my question.
Mhm.
I think Coppola's version of Dracula was 1992,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
When did the film Interview with the Vampire come out? Was that 98 or 96?
Oh, I think it was earlier than that. I
I I
do
I
think it was
couldn't remember.
earlier.
I could, or maybe 1990, maybe.
Yeah.
90, I don't know. But in any case,
Mhm.
do you think that Coppola's version of Dracula would exist without the books, the Anne Rice
Without the Anne
books?
Rice, probably not, to be honest, because what Coppola's version of Dracula does, funnily enough, it does what the series of Interview with the Vampire does for the books. It teases
Yeah,
out subtext. So I mean, in
yeah.
the book, Dracula's just a monster. There's no romance in
Very
in Dracula at all.
one-dimensional.
Yeah, he's
He's a
just a
bit
monster.
one-dimensional.
He
Yeah.
is. He's just a monster, and that's it. The Francis Ford Coppola version, it romanticizes the character, and also it introduces a completely new element, which is that of redemption. That's not in the
Yeah.
books. That's not in the books at all, and I love that. I mean, I absolutely love the 1992 Francis Ford Coppola version. That is my favorite adaptation of Dracula.
Oh, it's mine too. And like I know there are people that are like, well, it's not really like the book. And I'm like,
No,
yeah, but this is the I'm not a huge fan of other iterations to
I'm
be
not
like
either.
honestly,
I'm
I
not
find
either.
them I find them kind of boring. And I
Hmm.
do like the book. Don't get me wrong. I've read
Yeah.
Dracula a few times, but the book is told in a more interesting way because it's
Mm,
a epistolary. So it's
yes.
so this is what I mean about some things are great when you read them, but then if you
Mhm.
put them on the screen exactly as they are,
Well, Dracula,
um,
funnily enough, is really hard to adapt. I mean, it's
yeah,
weird because it is so intrinsic to like the history of cinema. I mean, like the Nosferatu, one of the earliest films ever, is
hmm
essentially an unofficial adaptation of Dracula.
hmm
Um,
yeah,
So it's tied
Yeah.
up with cinema, but it is a hard book to adapt because the book kind of falls off. The early segments are great. The bits with Jonathan Harker and Dracula, where, it's all gothic and Harker's like going through the mountains in the Borgo Pass, and there's the blue
Yeah.
fire off in the woods and the wolves trailing the carriage and all this
Hmm.
stuff. The castle looming in the distance. It's brilliant. And you've got Dracula like playing cat and mouse with him, being really chatty and like,
Yeah.
saying very knowing things to him. Like it's like, oh, I've got you now, almost. That's
Hmm.
great. I love that stuff. But when it gets to England, it kind of drops off a cliff, and there's not
Yeah.
much to it. I mean, like the female characters are largely interchangeable. They've got no personalities whatsoever. Mina and
Lucy.
Lucy, there's almost nothing to them until Lucy becomes a vampire. Then she's interesting, but as characters, there's not much to them. And as you say, because of that epistemological way of storytelling, it doesn't have much pop. It doesn't have
Hmm.
much verve to it. And of course, when they ultimately do, there's no grand encounter with Dracula at the end. They
No.
head him off on his way back to the castle and they kill him before
Yeah,
the
it's a, it's
that's
a, it's
it.
a little anticlimactic. Like, I think the thing that works in the book that never got translated to the screen,
Hmm.
until Cobbler's version,
Mm,
and he kind of veered from this anyway because he focused on different themes. But
yes.
I think that the book captured like that dread of like something's coming,
Yes,
um,
absolutely. I mean, when
and
you think
and our
the
characters are just
Coppola, I mean, the Coppola film does this brilliant thing where he's scary. Dracula is really frightening
yeah.
and really base and dark and perverted and monstrous, but he's also a person. He's also very identifiable, and he
Hmm.
has this wealth of romance and tragedy underneath him, and it's beautiful. It's actually really, really beautiful. I love what that does with the story. I think the story in the film is better than the story in the book. I'll be
I agree, because
100% honest.
I I think that maybe what the makers of that film thought was like, right, what is it that makes this book still resonate with
Mm,
people? Like what are people seeing in it?
yes.
And I think it was the human companionship and the
Yeah,
because there are more characters in the book than is usually put in a film version. They usually cut them and
absolutely.
condense them
They
all
cut
down.
them down because it's a big cast in the book, isn't it?
Yeah,
There's a lot of
which
people in it.
I think is a mistake in the other films because
Hmm.
because they focus more on Dracula in the films, but he's very
Yes.
one note.
I mean, it's interesting
Whereas
because the other films tend to focus on Dracula and Van Helsing, and that's really odd because Van Helsing's a side character in the book.
I think that like over the decades of like there's hundreds of iterations on screen
Hmm.
of Dracula, and I think a lot of the time people didn't quite grasp what was special about the book. Like I feel
Yes.
like they were looking for it and kind of focusing on the wrong things maybe.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
just my opinion. I know a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
people really love the Christopher Lee ones and stuff. I was a
yeah.
bit like,
Yeah,
I don't
they're not.
know.
They are not my favorites. The Hammer ones. Yeah, I
But
mean, don't get me wrong. Love
social.
Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. Love them both, but
Oh yeah,
they are not my favorite Hammer films, and they're certainly not my favorite films that those two actors appear in.
no. But then again, I do bear in mind that I watched these films, decades after they were
Yeah.
made, and
Yes, of course.
filmmaking has changed so much. So like, I understand that at the time when they came out, they would have been
Mm.
very scary and
Yeah,
um, the kind of dark and perverse.
yeah.
But
Because I mean, one of the more perverse things about those films is that although he doesn't play it in that way, Lee's Dracula became very sexualized.
he did.
In
It's
popular
it's funny,
culture.
isn't
Yeah,
it?
people, I mean, women loved him. They
It's
absolutely swooned over the thought of the Dracula character, Christopher Lee's Dracula.
I think
How
that
interesting, right?
I think that character play this does apply to Gary Oldman's performance as
Oh
well.
my God,
I
love
think
him.
it is great. I think that power thing it plays into these like I'm gonna get a little deeper socially here,
Mm,
but because I think things are getting they've shifted a little bit socially in recent
mm.
years, but generally women are not supposed to be sexual outwardly.
Right,
And
right.
so having this like really erotic experience,
Hmm.
um, but women aren't allowed to want that, otherwise
They're
they're
not allowed to
sluts.
want it, right? So
So
that's what this
I
film does,
think
right?
I think that maybe the appeal of Christopher Lee, especially decades past, because this
Mm,
was like women were just wives and that was
yeah,
it, chased
yeah,
and then wives. I think that the allure of like these vampire characters is like, oh, but I couldn't help it. He
yeah,
hypnotized
right,
me, and
yeah,
oh God, oh now I'm having a really lusty, breasty time, but it
yeah,
wasn't my fault.
yeah,
You know,
right, right.
I think that that's what I think that that's what the appeal of it is, and
Yes.
the because I've seen people thirsting over Gary Oldman's
Oh,
Dracula as well,
well,
and like
yeah. Oh, yeah.
it's it's so
I get
funny
that.
because
I get
we,
that.
oh, I get it, but when we're introduced to him, he's
Oh,
his
yes.
old Dracula version,
Hmm.
and we see horrible things like him crawling around on the outside of the castle
Yep.
wall. Oh, it's so horrible, and
It
we
is
know,
vile, isn't it? Yeah, it's
yeah,
absolutely vile.
he's so scary and unsettling and just
Uh-huh.
like unnerving and grotesque,
Yep.
and then he's like, right, I'm Foxy Dracula now, and then people
Yeah.
are just completely forget. They're like, oh, well, that's a
Yep.
handsome Dracula, and he
Yep.
is. But
He absolutely is. Yeah.
Dracula in the Coppola version to me has got the same effect that the Haga have from Midsummer
Uh-huh.
on the
Uh-huh.
audience, in that like you just forget that he is an absolute monster that
Hmm.
locks Jonathan in a castle to be feasted on by his brides, who are
Yeah.
also enslaved, by the way.
Yeah. It's true.
And
It's true.
we're like caught up in his romance because he genuinely, because Mina is the reincarnation of his love.
Yep.
And that like and you want him to get the girl
Hmm.
despite everything that you've already seen of him.
I mean,
You want you
interestingly, the film does too, doesn't it? The
Yes,
film does. The
yeah,
film kind of sidelines Jonathan at one point. It wants this romance to go on, and that's what happens, of course.
yeah, and we're nothing but sympathetic to Mina.
Hmm.
Um, and then like when she writes in the letter to say Jonathan's come back, and
Oh,
that
yes.
and he's like crying, and I was like, oh
Yeah.
God, and you get really like emotionally wrapped up in it, and then you're like, yeah, this dude just tried to
Mhm.
locked him in a castle
Yeah.
to die,
Yeah.
and then swanned off across the world to steal his like
Yeah.
when you actually think about what's actually happening, you're like, oh
Oh,
God, but
and
this.
also, by the way, I mean, like, also seduced and murdered your friend and turned her into a vampire. I mean, there's that too.
Oh my, yeah, it turned her into a vampire who was then went on to kill a bunch of local kids.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
mean,
and
mm,
he is, and that scene, where he's taken Lucy outside in the storm,
it's brilliant.
and
Love
he's,
that sequence.
he's having sex with her, right?
Yeah, he's the monster. Yeah,
It,
he's in his
and I'm
beast
like,
form, isn't he?
yeah, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I don't know how much you should romanticize this guy. He's
Yeah.
currently having it. He's hypnotized her friend into a
Hmm.
sexual encounter right now.
Yeah.
Like but then he's like, so poetic in his love for me. You're like, yeah, I forgot about
Yeah.
all that of this. And this is what I mean. This is the Haga from Midsummer. Because
Hmm.
at the end of Midsummer, I was like, oh, good for you, Danny. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Have I just
Exactly right. Yeah,
the Haga have drawn me in?
yeah,
Holy
exactly
shit.
right. You're not, because that's not, when you think about it more deeply, of course. I mean, that's what's happened is she's become veiled. She's been hollowed out at the end of Midsummer. She's not
Yeah.
exultant. She's become part of this system. And you are right. That's kind of what's happening to Mina. I mean, one of the interesting
Yeah.
things about Mina is she transcends it.
Hmm.
The film gives the female characters way more agency, because there's that
Yeah.
interesting line that Van Helsing has about Lucy where he says, like, she's a willing disciple. This is
Hmm.
not entirely like he wouldn't have been able to come across the threshold unless she'd kind of invited him. So there is
Yeah.
something else here as well, and that's really interesting. It gives all of the female characters way more agency than they would have otherwise had. I mean, first of all, it gives them character, which they don't have in the book.
I remember asking my mum because I must have been a teenager when I saw Dracula,
Mhm.
this version of it for the first time. And when he first gets to London and he sees Mina in the street, and
Yeah.
he like talks to her, and she's like
Yes.
really offended that
She's
he has
very
stopped her.
uptight, isn't she? She's very
And
sort of like,
I was like,
"Ooh."
Mum, why is she so like uh why is she being so rude to him? And she was like, oh, well, in those days, a stranger could not just stop a lady in the street to talk to her. She was like, it was really
Foreign
improper.
stranger at that. I mean,
Yeah,
like it's like whoa.
she was like it was really improper, and she was like and not and so like men knew they shouldn't do it, but women
Yes.
definitely knew they shouldn't talk to other men,
Yeah.
especially if they're like betrothed or whatever. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, that's like a cultural thing I didn't know, but it's like, yeah, it's she's not like she doesn't even want to talk to the guy
No, she's actually
initially.
quite, I mean, she is quite brusque, isn't she? She
Yeah,
basically tries to ward him off.
it's the biggest fuck off energy I've ever seen.
Mm,
Um, and
mm.
yet he persists. And it's yeah, I love these kinds of films and shows and stuff where like the character dynamics are so layered and complicated that I
Yeah.
honestly I feel a certain way, but I know I shouldn't. And then I spend ages like, um, you know, I I'm like, oh God, Mina, get away from the guy. He's a monster. But
He's a
also,
yeah, also, I mean,
oh,
it does that thing as well where it gives Mina way more agency over it because he actually resists at one point. He actually says, you know, when he's about to turn her into a vampire,
oh,
he says
yeah,
no. He says no, 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 no. I can't condemn you. I think he says something along the line.
yeah. I
And
love
then
you
she
too much.
says, "That's
Mhm.
it." And she says, "Take me away from all this death." And
Yeah,
she's like, "No, no, I'm, you know, I'm in. I'm totally in, you know." And I like that. I really like that. I think it just gives Mina so much more agency than she would have
it
otherwise
does.
had.
It does. If you believe him in the scene. And
Mhm.
I'm not, I to this day, I am not
Mm,
sure
not
because,
entirely sure, yeah.
because when I was a bit younger, um, before I'd had time to be manipulated by a bunch of people, I took that on face value of
Uh-huh.
like, oh no, he loves her too much to turn her. But
Yeah.
in because of the way that he has manipulated himself into the situation and into her
Yeah.
world in the first place, I'm like, it did he even actually
Mm,
plan to turn her in that moment, or is he just like teasing her with that and then going meh,
mm.
so that she really wants it
Oh,
because he wants to
interesting.
like. I wondered if maybe he's trying to expel any guilt on his end
Yes,
by
by
getting her
yeah.
to ask for it so that
Rather
it's
than
not.
imposing it, yeah, rather than
Yeah,
inflicting it on her. Yeah, that's a fair
but
point,
really
actually.
but really he is imposing it if he's
Mhm.
manipulated the if he's the one really who's in a backhanded way
Yeah.
got her to want it in the first place. So like, but I'm not
Mm.
sure. But I'm not sure. That's one way to read it, but I'm not a hundred
Definitely.
percent sure
That's
on that
very
because,
interesting. Yeah. I mean that's really cool because it makes the text polysemic, doesn't it? You're like, how do I read this? Where
well, I
you
think
know,
that's the power of things that are really well made and written.
totally. Totally. And I really like that because the whole character of Dracula is in that film is really ambiguous. He's all over the place. You know, he
Hmm.
is the monster from the Hammer films and worse, but he's also something else. He's the romantic
Yeah,
character from the Anne Rice novels too.
I read. Yes, I read. He reminds me a little bit of Lestat,
Mm.
because he is he seems like a big ball of love, and I
Mhm.
think the framing of Dracula, though, like it is more of a tragic story because he goes off to fight for church and country
That's right. Yeah.
and then comes back and is not only told that the love of his life is dead, but they won't even bury her
Yeah, she's
on holy
damned,
ground.
basically. She's damned,
um
yeah.
and it's so heartbreaking and terrible. So I
Mhm.
believe that his love for Mina is real, but he
Yes.
feels a bit Lestat to me in that we end up rooting for him because I guess we all want love. That's something that we
Mhm.
all relate to. And because we believe that no matter how diabolical these characters are, that the love is pure,
Mhm.
like even though it's actually not because it's all laced with death. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
um um but I think what's resonating with us is the love. I think that we're forgiving these kinds of characters for so much
Oh,
because
absolutely. Because
because
they evoke that, because they radiate like, you know, a romance, a love, yeah.
and because we're in the perspective. So even with Interview with the Vampire, because this is like Louis' story, but the framing of it feels very much like we're getting a lot of Lestat as well.
Mm,
And because we're and Dracula, a lot of that film is through Dracula's perspective.
yeah.
So we're identifying with them. Um, Whereas if like these stories were completely told through just the eyes of like Lestat's human victims,
Yeah, then of
or
course, yes. Then we'd be a bit more hang on.
it was like that thing where people were like, "Oh, well, if we got The Walking Dead from Negan's perspective, then Rick and his group would actually be the villains."
Mhm.
I'm like, "Yeah, but we didn't get it through."
Right, right.
Like and I'm not 100% sure that's true either, by
I'm
the
gonna
way.
say,
But
yeah,
but
I'm not 100% sure about that, but no, I know, I get where you're coming from though.
but that's the art of like great uh what's the word I'm looking for? Not antagonist. Like anti-heroes. I hesitate to say
Yeah,
anti-hero. They're not really anti-hero, but you know what I mean? Like that's
I
the
know
art
what
of
you
like
mean.
great
Yeah, like he's a
writing.
complex character. I mean, like in that film, Dracula's actually a really complex character, which he isn't in most other incarnations. He's actually kind of
No,
one
he's
note in most other
mhm,
incarnations. He's a villain, he's a monster, and that's largely it. Whereas here, yeah, he's very interesting indeed.
mhm. I think that the Coppola version, I don't know if that is ever going to be dethroned for me as
I
the
don't,
best
it hasn't
version.
yet for me. It hasn't yet for me. There's a couple of others that are I find very interesting. I mean, really interesting on in their own terms. You know, I
Mhm.
really liked actually the remake of Nosferatu.
I haven't
Um,
seen it yet
I
still.
loved that. That to me, if you watch this version of Dracula and that version of Nosferatu back to back, they
Oh
rhyme with one
yeah.
another. They rhyme with one another. So this, you know how this the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula is all lush and romantic and erotic and it's
Hmm.
all color. The Nosferatu, the Robert Eggers Nosferatu, is the antithesis of that. So it's the
Hmm.
vampire as completely fanatic. It's all about death and disease and madness. So wherever the vampire goes, Count Orlok, he's more like a an existential cancer.
Okay.
Madness and horror and debilitation follow wherever he goes. And whereas Dracula, the 1992 Dracula, is lush with color and vibrancy,
Hmm.
the Robert Eggers Nosferatu is shadows and darkness and bleakness, and they rhyme beautifully.
Hmm.
They're both as interesting in their own peculiar ways, and they work together. That interestingly, it feels like what Robert Eggers did is watched the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula and then invert it. Like everything about
Oh,
it.
he's Eggers is another one of those
Yeah.
directors for me, by
Yeah.
the way. That's
Oh yeah, I love
oh
Robert
yeah,
Eggers.
no.
I
I've been me
love Robert Eggers. The
been
bits.
meaning to get round to watching that. Maybe I'll put that on my list for the weekend.
I enjoyed
Uh,
it. Not everyone did. I know quite a few people who didn't enjoy it. I mean, because it's hyper gothic. It is kind of one note in that regard. It's like how much more gothic could it be? And the answer is none. None more
well,
gothic.
I'm down for that. I trust that he pulled the vision together, see, because
Mm.
he's a good filmmaker.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the vision is very clear in this, which is ironic for something that's so dark and shadowy. But it is just that. He just wanted to make the most gothic film imaginable, and that's what you've got, laced through with this odd note of feminism. It's really strange. It's got this really strong feminism at its core. Um, a feminist gothic vampire story. It's very peculiar.
I like that. I have heard it's a more feminist take.
Very,
So
very much. Well, what it does, you've
it
got this central character who is a woman in Victorian. It's not London. I think it's somewhere in Germany, maybe Munich actually, or Berlin. And she is completely out of place. Um, she doesn't she doesn't really belong. She has like lots of psychological problems and emotional problems that makes her obviously not fit for polite society. And it's her unhappiness, bizarrely. The film never states this, but it suggests that somehow it's her friction and unhappiness with the society in which she exists that calls Orlok up, that resurrects
hmm.
him and draws him to her. But he is not redemptive. That's the interesting thing. He's like this manifestation of hyper patriarchy. So he is not in any way like unlike the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula. He's in no way redemptive. He wants to own her and control her. He equates love. He uses the word love, but he equates it with dominion and control
Hmm.
and imposition. And it's sort of how she negotiates her way out of this, but also
Hmm.
out of like other things as well. Like she is like Mina, she's betrothed. She is meant to be married. And it's very clear that the marriage is a kind of sham. She doesn't feel it. She doesn't want it. It's not for her. The whole
Hmm.
institution isn't for her. Um, and it's thorny and weird and dark in that regard. There's no romance at all. Like the romance is shorn from this film. Um,
Wow.
it's really cool, actually. I really liked it. I thought it
Well,
was very interesting.
I'm looking forward
Um,
to, there's no reason I haven't seen it yet. I just haven't. I don't watch a lot of films, so I just haven't
yeah,
got round to it. But I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, I
I
liked
was
it. A lot of people didn't. I mean, a lot of people really, really didn't take to it. I thought it was wonderful myself.
Well, I tend to have similar taste to you, I've
Hmm.
noticed. Not
Hmm.
every single time, but most of the time.
Most of the
So,
time, yeah. So
um,
yeah.
here's a question I thought of you as you were just describing that to
Hmm.
me. Particularly with vampire fiction, on-screen vampire fiction,
Hmm.
um, how important do you think the aesthetics are?
What to
Because
vampire? Oh my God. I
I
mean,
think
like,
very.
oh, yeah, absolutely. Very. I mean, like the aesthetic of the vampire. Again, this is a kind of Anne Rice thing, isn't it?
Hmm.
Because the aesthetic of the vampires in Anne Rice fiction is that they are inhumanly beautiful, but in a cold way, like in an alien way almost. They're like
Hmm.
statues come to life, aren't they? There's something too perfect about them.
I think
Um,
the costume design and it
mhm.
depends like set design as well, I think. But
Yes.
I think the costume design and like the like if you're using any kind of practical like
Hmm.
makeup or whatever, I think it's so important because I think all of the most effective vampire fiction, whether it's like got a romantic gothic flair or it's Victorian or it's something like 30 Days of Night,
Yeah.
I think that the costume and the set design,
Mhm.
the importance of that is
Oh,
maybe
it's
this is
you cannot overstate it, right? It's so important, and that of course derives from the kind of fiction that vampire fiction itself derives from, which is Gothicism, right?
I
Gothicism is a whole aesthetic. It's a whole aesthetic. I mean, like most
it is the
Gothic fiction is about atmosphere, and it's about
mhm.
place and setting and mood, and that is all aesthetic. That is all derived from aesthetics.
Yeah, and not just like, but even if more modern. So I was just thinking the 30 Days of Night, those
Mhm.
vampires have got a very like they're all dressed in like dark
Yeah.
grimy kind of clothes,
Hmm.
but there's a mixture of like some of them are in like there's one that's like in leggings and a skirt or something.
Right.
And you don't notice initially what the actual items of clothing are because
Hmm.
they kind of match. They're like an
Yes.
army. But you can see if you actually look at those character the vampires a little bit more carefully,
Hmm.
you can see that they've clearly been sort of plucked from various times and places.
Hmm.
And they're really scary. And
Yeah.
the set, all the set for 30 Days a Night is fantastic. And then you've
Hmm.
got like these beautiful, lavish gothic set like on Coppola's Dracula. The costume design in
Oh,
Coppola's Dracula is
it's
oh,
phenomenal, isn't it? I mean, the thing about Coppola's Dracula, I think that exemplifies how important aesthetics is to vampire fiction because it's almost entirely aesthetic, isn't it? The whole thing. It's not just the costumes and the sets, but it's the way it's all framed and lit and put together, the shots that are used. It's
the
all
score as
designed.
well.
Your
Yeah,
score, yeah, it's all designed to evoke mood and
and
feeling and
it
atmosphere.
like the lighting and the set, the costume and the music and everything, like it really all works together. Like
Yeah,
it's just so harmonious. And
yeah.
the standout for me of the whole film though is Lucy in her like a crypt outfit when she's dead.
Oh, the Bloofer
That
lady.
white,
Yeah, the
yeah,
Bloofer
oh my God.
lady.
It's so scary.
It's
But the
scary and weird and like overwrought. It,
and it's because it's like it's sort of like funereal, but also like bride. And it's,
Yes.
oh God, but it's like, oh God, the intricacies of that, like like I could stare at that costume all day
Yeah.
long. It's
It's
like,
really beautiful, isn't it? And very upsetting somehow.
yeah,
There's
it is.
something
It's like,
about it that's very
yeah,
upsetting. I think it's because it is slightly pantomimic too. It is like really over the top, as almost everything is. I mean, like, Dracula's initial outfit, that long, long, long red robe is
yeah,
absurd. It's
yes,
absolutely
yeah,
absurd. It's completely impractical. You trip over that all the time, wouldn't you? Get it snared on things in that damn
I
castle.
would.
Absolutely. I can imagine Dracula like going up the stairs and getting it caught on something. It's like, fucking,
My cats
come on.
would be running and skidding onto that if I was
Exactly,
wearing that around
right,
the
right.
house.
But it doesn't matter. It's not. It's about the aesthetic ultimately, isn't it?
Hmm.
Like, that's what it's all about, and that's what I mean. That's probably why vampire fiction is so apt to cinema, because it is so visual in nature.
I think that that's for me when it really works and when it doesn't is because I know people are very chalk and cheese about John Carpenter's vampires as a
Hmm.
film,
Hmm.
but I think that the vampire design,
Is
they
yeah,
are gross.
yeah,
They're so horrible, but like great vampire design because they're just
yes.
meant to be horrible monsters.
Very
They
unusual, right? Very unusual. I like it.
Yeah, they're just dirty. Like we get the impression immediately that they actually stink, which you never get with
Hmm.
vampire fiction because we're meant to be
No.
more like drawn to them.
Yes.
Maybe this is for us one of the reasons why we don't like the Twilight vampires because they are so bland and they've got
So
no,
they've got no texture to them. They've got
and
no
also
grit.
the set design of their house and stuff as well. It's just
It's
very
clean.
nothing.
Very nothing. Yeah,
It's
it's clean
yeah,
and modern and
there's
yeah.
nothing about those characters that says like anything about where they're from
It's one of those
or
weird things. Like, I mean, yeah, I'm sure Jack will have something to say about this, but they're only vampires in the sense that the text tells you they're vampires, right?
yeah, I feel this way with I did watch the vampire. I think I've told you this. I watched the Vampire Diaries because we
Hmm.
had like a weekly Vampire Diaries girl night,
Yeah.
a job I had. And I'm really not trying to shit on it but at all because I am very aware that this is like YA fiction, so I'm not
Yeah,
gonna,
yeah.
I know people like those books and the show and everything, but the
Mhm.
vampires in the Vampire Diaries for me were also very boring because they just
Yes.
looked like there was nothing really that set them apart from people,
Right.
and there was nothing. I don't know, and until the story is like, oh, here's an ancient ring that a witch has blessed.
Hmm.
Like, there's just nothing. There's, I don't know. I find it boring, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, there's no real substance to it, is there? There's no reason for them to be
That's
vampires. It doesn't
that's what
really,
it is.
it doesn't really, it's not salient to the story. I mean, like, that's the weird thing about it. I mean, like, take the Twilight vampires as a really good example. They didn't have to be vampires. They could have just been like like X-Men style mutants or
They
superheroes,
could.
or because that's what
Do
they
you,
are. That's
do you
what
know
they
what
are.
I? Do you know what I can't believe? Sorry to be on about
No, no, go
Twilight.
ahead. No,
what I
no, it's
cannot,
fine.
what I can't believe, right, is that you get so little about those vampires, apart
Mhm.
from what is just like said in dialogue, which
Right.
like cardinal rule break. Come on,
Yeah.
like these vampires are from like different decades and stuff. Like we
Hmm.
could have seen more interesting stuff. But then the one time they decide to really expand on someone's background and show us things, it's Jasper in the
I
freaking
know.
um, what's it called? What's that army called?
Yeah.
The uh,
Oh, I can't remember.
the God, everyone who's seen Twilight knows what we're talking about
Yeah, yeah,
anyway.
yeah,
But he's in that army that has gone down in history for like it was a racist point in time, basically.
yeah, yeah.
And we're supposed to be and the text itself doesn't have any criticism of that.
Well, no,
It's
it
like
wouldn't. It
it's
wouldn't.
it's like Jasper feels a bit bad about killing a bunch of newborns, and Alice is like,
Hmm.
"Oh well, you're not like that anymore." And I'm like, "Oh, he
Yeah.
feels bad for that."
Oh, that's all right then, right?
But he doesn't feel bad for serving in this
Yeah,
this war. And
yeah.
I was like, that's where I mean, like, I do have some issues with
Hmm.
the moral principles behind Twilight,
There's a lot of
regardless of
yeah. There's a lot of
yeah.
immorality in Twilight. It's a
Is it the
really, yeah.
colonial army? What's it called? Something with a
Oh, the
C, isn't it?
Confederates. The Confederacy, yeah.
Confederate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The
Yeah,
Confederacy, yeah. So
Um,
basically,
I
the racist side. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, I just remember watching that and I was like, oh, we're gonna get a bit of background about like why Jasper doesn't want to hurt people anymore. And then it
Oh
was just
no.
it was just because he felt bad about
Yeah.
slaughtering newborns. And I was like, what?
Hmm.
Guys,
There's
Jesus Christ.
yeah, it's there's a lot of stuff in those books where when you dig underneath the the sort of light aesthetic that they have, which it is, they're young adult fiction, so they're slightly, they're pretty surface level, but there's a lot of very creepy, very sort of like culty stuff, which I don't want to harp on about it, but it does derive from Stephanie Meyer's Mormonism.
Well,
It's
I
absolutely,
I
it absolutely does.
I just really couldn't help but I can't help but view it the older I get as like it seems more and more racist because
Hmm.
when they finally do bring in vampires where they try and give you a sense of where they're from, they have
Hmm.
gone the most
Yeah,
stereotypical
yeah.
like oh we'll bring in some vampires from the Amazon but they're dressed like
Hmm.
they're from the Amazon 600 years ago and it's
Yeah.
and they're barefoot and I just thought I don't know if this was an attempt to bring in a bit more culture, but they did it the
It's
way it
it
was written in the book, and I was like,
yeah. It
she
really, it's like wow.
and yeah, and the subtext of like all these people are being drawn in by this white family that are asking for
Yeah.
favor, like asking them all to die for. Like I just, yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to be like I'm not. I'm not trying to make Twilight about that, but that is what it's about.
It is what it's about, though. I mean, that's ultimately it. So,
I
as I say, the only, it's very dubious, Twilight. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, there are essays online that that talk about the dubious elements of Twilight, and they go quite deep into it. I will say, I still do. I mean, I still get a laugh out of them. I
oh, I
do,
do.
I do find those films amusing, particularly when the Volturi turn up. Anytime they turn up, I'm in because they're from the set of a different film. They have wandered in from a production of the Rocky Horror Picture Show or something. And
It's like they've walked. Yeah, it is like they've walked off a different set. It's
yeah,
so fun. Well,
in their
there are
weird costumes and whatnot with their capes and everything. It's like, what are you doing?
there are lines in Twilight that my brother and I just quote to each other,
Uh-huh,
like when just and it's usually badly delivered lines because that's really the only lines I remember.
uh-huh,
There's just one where I think it's in the first film where like they're pulling up to the police station and something's
uh-huh.
gone on, and Bella just goes, "Whoa, what is going on?"
Yeah, oh, honestly,
Like,
again, she's very young, and I really don't want to rag on her, but she's not great, is she? What's her
well, I
name?
don't. Kristen Stewart.
Yeah, she's not great.
I don't think that she's a bad actor, but this is, yeah, she was like 18, was she?
Yeah,
And
yes, she was
and
very young, so
it's
fair
not the
enough, but
best.
it's not
And
great.
I feel like they told her to play it like that though.
Yeah, to play
Like
it
she's
muted, like down, yeah.
because Bella in the book is very kind of nothingy, and she's supposed to be like a self-insert character. So I think that
Yeah,
that's what was happening in the film. Like I'm not blaming
Jesus.
Kristen Stewart for it, but it's just there's a few bits in it where I'm just like, did they forget they were
Hmm.
acting? I don't
I
know
mean,
what's going
don't get
on.
me wrong, nobody in that film, in those series of films, is doing an amazing job. Let's be 100% honest. But,
They didn't
you
have great
know,
material to work with. I
no, they didn't. They didn't. And again, hats off to Michael Sheen for just, you know,
he's
running with
so
the
funny.
absurdity of it all, just going like, I'm gonna go nuts. I'm gonna do
Yeah,
everything they told me not to do in acting school. Everything. I'm
yeah.
gonna go as big as possible. I'm gonna dominate. I'm gonna gurn. I'm gonna corpse. I'm gonna everything they told me
It's
not to
so
do, I'm
funny.
gonna do.
Oh God. Oh God.
It's
Yeah,
that
it's
way they drape over thrones and whatnot with their capes, and every line is like, oh,
well, this is where I mean when like I say about the design of the vampires in Twilight, because the main vampire family that we're supposed to like, and oh, this is the skin of a killer, Bella. Oh, I'm really
mm,
scared. I'm
yeah.
really scared of a guy that insists on repeating high school all the time.
Right. I mean,
And
there's another thing, right? There's another bloody thing. How old is Edward? Like 300 or something?
no, he's like 112,
100?
something
Fair
like that.
enough, but
But
it's like Jesus, right? What would a creature that's immortal and 100 odd? What
Also, they're
would
all
they
the
want with
gen
a teenager? It's like, oh my God, yeah, it's
they're
creepy.
all
It's
they're
creepy.
all geniuses as well, and I'm like, you couldn't have all become doctors.
Right.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's a strange whatever.
There are
Um,
things in it where I'm like, I'm having trouble with this. You know, I'm like,
I
it's
do have a
weird.
bit of I do have a bit of trouble with not YA fiction, can't say it enough, but these love triangle vampire stories written for
Yeah.
teenagers. It's why is it never a vampire that's the same, like that's a year older?
Right,
Like
right. They've
um
got to be like
I
1,000 or
uh but I never clocked the Buffy Angel dynamic as gross when I
hmm
watched it when I was a teenager. But like that's what I mean, you're an impressionable teenager, and it gives you the impression that the older guy being interested in you must make you really cool and mature, which is
Right.
kind of a dangerous message to
It's
send
a
to
very
teenage girls.
dangerous message because, like, there's always that guy, isn't there? I mean, I knew guys like this. There's always the guy, like,
Yeah,
the creepy college-aged guy who's still hanging around with the high school
yeah.
girls.
Who's outside the school gates when school finishes in his car.
Yeah, and it's like,
And yeah,
yes, that's weird.
it's a little weird. And the Vampire Diaries is the same kind of thing. Uh, and I think the exception in terms of like the newer stuff, like I say newer, it was out a while, but like True Blood is the exception to that because all the characters are adults.
Yes, yes.
So there's a point where I don't think it matters that much with an age difference with a vampire, but when they like turning up at your school saying something
Mm,
cryptic and then like I don't know,
yeah.
it's a bit weird.
Yeah, and
Um,
there's another thing with the Edward Bella romance, which is it's weirdly synthetic. He's like attracted to her because her blood tastes a particular way and smells a particular way. It's like
yeah,
that's
and
weird.
we're supposed to find it see now this is one of the this is one of the problems. I know everyone talks about this because
hmm
in hindsight people are like, oh, I actually don't know about Twilight because
hmm
of the control and abuse angle,
hmm
where the problem with it, because we've acknowledged it in Interview with the Vampire and Dracula and like all of this other stuff with the characters are complex and stuff, but the the problem with it in Twilight is that it's being sold as
Yes, it's
the
romanticized.
it and it's romanticized in all of these things, but the other things are like Interview the Vampire is not for under 18s.
Right, right.
Dracula is not children.
Yep.
It's that's the problem with things like Twilight is that,
hmm
it's treating Edward like, oh, we're supposed to find it really romantic that he really wants to
Yeah.
kill her, but he loves her so much he's resisting the urge, and
I
I'm like,
know,
oh my God,
right? It's like,
I've s-
oh my
I've
God.
I'm sorry, but that is the eternal song of the domestic abuser.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh,
Oh, I'm
look what
trying
you've made
so
me
hard.
do.
Yes,
Hmm.
look what you've made me do. I'm trying so hard not to calm you. It's like, oh
Yes,
my God.
that's where I get a little bit. I watched there's a psychology YouTube channel I watch. I
Hmm.
can't remember what it is. It's something to do with like they analyze. It's like cinema psychology. They analyze
Yeah,
stuff in cinema,
yeah.
and they were talking about Twilight, and the guy was like, "Look, I'm glad it got a lot of people into reading. That's great." He was like, "But I will say, I don't want my teenage girls watching this
You're right.
without um on a first watch with us. They wanted to be there, the parents wanted to be there
Yep.
so they could talk about the relationship, like just to make sure that their kids knew, I know everyone likes this,
But
but what do things like Edward taking the engine out of her car because she wants to go to the werewolf place and he can't go
hmm
there and he doesn't want her
hmm
to go, so he just takes the engine out of her car, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm
It's
sorry.
holy shit. Deal
And
breaker. Like
he
a
knows he
million red
knows
flags. A
yeah,
million red flags.
and he knows that she's not in danger there.
Yeah.
So that's literally just because she doesn't want her to go because he can't go there. And I was like, that is like,
It's romanticizing control and possession. It's really
yeah,
like yeah. Yeah.
yeah. It's yeah. I do have a good laugh at it, but I'm not
It
influenced in my
no,
relationships by it. So it's
no. There is something very sinister in Twilight. Underneath the veneer of romance, there's something very sinister. It's romanticization of abuse.
All
um,
different types as well.
of
Like
all
it's
different types. Yeah, it really is very problematic indeed.
yeah. And any character that's like some of the characters that are just normal people are treated like they're the
Oh,
prop. Like
Bella's dad. I mean, like, poor
oh
guy,
God,
right? Poor guy.
oh
Just like,
Charlie,
just
Mustache
completely
Dad's the best character.
right, completely sidelined. Ultimately they come to a point where she is basically, oh, I can never really see you again, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
fuck,
Do you
Jesus,
know?
this is culty and weird and very
Yeah,
unsettling.
yeah. There is a line from the book that I am shocked they didn't put into the film,
Mhm,
considering that they thought all of this other stuff was okay in the
mhm,
film. And I don't know if possibly Billy Burke was like, I want to say that.
mhm.
If it felt like somebody with common sense, because those films are really loyal to the books.
They
Like a
are,
lot
aren't
of the
they?
dialogue,
Yeah.
a lot of the dialogue is the same dialogue and whatever.
Mhm,
And that bit in whichever film it is where Jacob kisses Bella and she punches him,
mhm.
and when they get back to her house, Edward's already there and they like squaring up
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
about it. In the book, when she's like, Dad, Jacob forced a kiss on me, he's like, oh, way to go, son. And he's like congratulating Jacob on his balls.
Yeah.
And his daughter's standing there with a broken hand. Like, and I was like,
Yeah.
I was like early 20s when I read these books, so I didn't take as much exception with them as I do now.
Yes.
Um, but even then, I was like, oh, I'm
I
not
mean,
really sure about that because
yeah,
I would hope that my dad would be like, what the fuck?
yeah, and
Like,
first of all, no dad is going to react that way about their
no,
own daughter. No, no dad on earth is going to react that way.
no, like way to go. Like I was
Yeah,
like,
way
oh,
to
this is
go. This is
yeah. Are you serious? Like
yeah.
you'd be like, why is my daughter's hand broken? Why is everybody
Yes.
upset? Like what is like are you serious? Um, but yeah, but like a lot of that stuff is just like played for laughs in those films.
It is. It really is, and a
Like
lot of that's the other thing, isn't it? A lot of the really dubious stuff is treated very lightly. Like
mhm,
the whole wedding thing is
mhm.
it's it's very strange. The whole thing is really weird, you know?
Have you seen somebody on YouTube made recut like a trailer for Twilight but made it
No,
horror? So it's
no.
like I like watching you sleep, and he's like in the corner. Like it's so funny, and it's just Edward being creepy and like Jacob's lines about trying to warn her from the
Yeah.
first film, and
Well,
he's like,
I imagine the reason that works in terms of humor is because it's bringing out something that's actually true, right?
yeah, it's just using shots from the film, and it's in contact shots as well. It's not
Yeah.
even like
It's
it's
just
not even
cutting it
like they
differently, right? So if you
yeah
cut it differently, these things come across as weird and threatening and creepy and borderline abusive, right?
yeah the it is like yeah,
Wow.
I don't
Wow.
know. I mean, it's so weird how we like I do think this is true though, but it's like really hilarious to me on a really in a dark way that Twilight is um it's more questionable than Interview with the Vampire.
hmm Yeah, I would say so. I would say so simply because there's I mean, the thing about Interview with a Vampire is that it's adult enough to actually ask the questions and explore the ambiguity of these relationships, whereas this isn't at all.
Mhm, mhm.
It's disturbingly shallow in that regard.
Yeah, I
And the
think
fact that it's giving these impressions of what relationships are to teenagers and teenage girls at that,
mhm.
it's really problematic. It's very unsettling and unpleasant, you know?
I think the really weird happy medium kind of crossover between these things and the handling of them is probably True Blood because
hmm hmm
aesthetically that where all the vampires live and stuff, like there's an otherworldly like Bill Compton's house.
hmm
It's like a big rundown place, and there is like identity to those characters, and
Yes, yeah.
but also I really like that Suki's quite enamored with them and everything, but she's also like, oh, fuck off. Like,
Yeah,
like
so she has
she
agency, right? She has power. She has
she yeah,
some control over the relationships, right?
and she's quite like, well, that's unforgivable. Get out.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
I was like, oh, thank God,
Mhm.
because every because these like romance stories with these characters, I'm like, that's a show that didn't ignore the
The difficulties, the problems, the complexities of it all, right?
yeah, and they gave us a human protagonist and a woman no
Mhm.
less that was
Yeah,
like, nah, I'm not putting up with that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, thank you. And I was like, oh, how refreshing.
It is refreshing because, of course, you immediately the problem with the the vampire romance, particularly if a mortal human is involved, is that you immediately have a problematic power dynamic.
Hmm.
There's the age thing, there's the immortality thing, that's all an issue. But there's also
Hmm.
just the physical power.
Yeah. I think
It's hard for people to say no, isn't it?
it is. Oh God, the vampires in True Blood are scary.
Yeah, they are very scary, very violent, potentially very dangerous,
What is it about this is I think this is vampire characters in particular, but this goes
Mm.
for a lot of kind of villainous characters or like we don't know if they're a villain kind of characters, but what is it about men who are hot and funny
Hmm.
because they can basically get away with anything.
It's true.
Like,
It is true. It's a problem. I think it's hardwired. I think it is something hardwired into us because I know like a lot of the more problematic, particularly fictional characters, I do find very attractive. And
hmm.
it's an issue, it's a problem. That's a real problem. I mean, we talked about the Gary Oldman Dracula when he's in London, when he's beautiful. He's absolutely beautiful, very seductive.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think of the vampires in Lost Souls, all of whom are massively attractive, but again are often monstrous. They're often murderous and
Hmm.
sadistic and unpleasant. It's a slight aside, but kind of similar in a way because he does have a Dracula-like element. There's the Mads Mikkelsen Hannibal, who
Hmm. Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
that's a good
is
example.
phenomenally attractive. I mean, like really, really hot, but is a monster, like an absolute monster in a way that even vampires aren't. A total
I
sadistic serial killer horror show of a human being.
of the it's Negan from The Walking Dead as well for
Yeah.
me. I don't get me wrong, love watching the character because
Hmm.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan is
Yep.
great. But I never liked how did you watch like
I
far
watched
into
up
it?
until not far into it. I watched up until the end of series 3.
Right, okay. So are you planning to watch it or am I going to spoil something for you?
No, no, no. Go ahead. No,
Okay.
I'm not planning to
So
watch it.
when we find there's a big build up to because we're hearing about Negan for like a whole season
Mhm,
and we don't know what he looks like or anything.
mhm.
And then he finally turns up. And the first thing he does when we see him is he like bashes in the head of two main characters, but one in particular was from season one. And
Right,
his
right.
pregnant wife is present to see this.
Wow.
So it's devastating. It was like devastating. Like people were so upset that they'd never
Mhm.
watched the show again.
Right,
And then
right.
because the character became, I think that they were originally planning to kill Negan at some point,
Mhm.
but because the character was so popular, I guess they changed their mind. I think that this is what happened, if I'm remembering correctly.
Mhm.
So there's a point that they could kill him, and this widow is she's gonna get her revenge, and then
Right.
the main character's like, no, no, save him, actually
Oh,
inexplicably, right? Because there's some moral
right.
to this, but but I was like, what? And then for later seasons, basically the show is trying to ingratiate Negan into the main group,
Mhm.
and the woman Maggie goes away. And then when she comes back home to find that Negan lives there now, right?
Right.
And the show treated Maggie like she was the problem. She is like, what the going on here?
Okay.
And then the fan base, like this is always a character that people liked, and then the fan base started turning on it quite viciously, and
Yeah,
they were like, oh God,
that may be baked in misogyny, because
that's what that's what I thought because I was like, yeah, just because you like Negan as a like this guy
mm,
bashed her husband's brains in,
yeah. Have you
like,
ever
are you
seen
serious?
the reactions to characters like Skylar White?
Oh God, she was not the problem.
She was not the problem. She was a victim, right? The
Yeah,
the
she's
worst thing she
shackled to a
does, the worst thing she does is that she doesn't turn Walt in when she has the chance. That's the
yeah.
worst thing she does. Beyond
It's
that, she is, and even that, she does, it's a wrong decision for good reasons, right?
mhm,
She can't stand the thought of Walt Jr. seeing what his dad is, basically. She can't stand the thought of it. So she's kind of protecting her son. Okay, it doesn't work, and it's a bad decision. But the reasons are good, right? They're at
mhm,
least they're good-hearted. That's the worst thing she does. Beyond anything else, uh, you know, she is not the villain. She is in no
no,
way the villain, but the way people hate that character, men, I should say, hate that character is unreal. The way they turn on her,
yeah,
in contrast to
I
Walt, who is a monster.
yeah, I think it's part sort of baked in misogyny on the audience's
Mm.
part, and also in the writing,
Yeah.
because this is a problem I had with season one Walking. I loved
Mm.
season one Walking Dead, right?
Yeah, I liked
I
the first season.
I always had a problem with how much the audience hated Laurie in season
Yeah.
one because she got with Shane.
Yeah,
And
it's like, well,
the reason I hated the response to that, because later on she does turn into an unlikable character later,
yeah.
but I don't think that they wrote her well, because it was like the show wanted us to see her as a problem. But
Yes, yeah.
what bothered me was that everyone's got a major problem with her for getting with Shane, and like, oh well, her husband had been dead. She thought he'd
Yes,
been
a
dead two
husband,
seconds,
right, a husband was
and I'm
effectively
like,
dead, right? So,
well, she thought he was dead. Shane
yeah.
told her that he saw him die,
Yes.
and I was like, but also she already knew Shane for years. Like he was,
Yeah.
that was her husband's partner, so like, and she trusts him.
Yeah.
She has a child. I could see how
Their
that would happen,
romance
right?
makes sense. Their romance makes total sense.
And not just that, but she's gone into like survival mode as well.
Yeah,
She's like
absolutely.
latched, and it's not like she's using him. I think she genuinely cares about him.
Yeah, she
But
does. Yeah.
what my issue was was that no one had an issue with Shane for it.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So the people who were like, "Oh, look at her just jumping into bed," I was like, there's
Happens all
plenty
the
of re
time.
yeah," and I was like, and
Happens
it's
all the time.
completely, totally understandable. Nobody is criticizing Shane
Yeah.
for and I understood why Shane lied and told her he saw Rick die because he didn't think
Mhm.
she would leave the city if she knew he might still be
Yes.
alive
I
and blah
mean,
blah
even
blah.
yeah, totally.
And Shane did think that Rick was dead also, right?
Yes.
So
Which was
this
a
is what I was like,
reasonable assumption as well. That, by the way, it's a reasonable assumption at that point.
yeah. But then people were still like Shane's art, that was the thing, like Shane's character was so well written.
Mhm.
That's probably one of the most compelling characters for their
Yeah.
whole arc that I'd ever seen.
Mhm.
And he was so well written, and then by comparison, Laurie started looking more and more annoying and shallow. And I was like, could you not
Yes.
have given her the same weight? This is ridiculous. And then
Absolutely.
people are like excusing all of his absolutely heinous
Yeah.
behavior because they're like, oh, but he loves her. And I'm like, let's take stock of all of the terrible things he's done that we're
Mhm.
forgiving him for,
Yep.
but we're not forgiving Laurie for sleeping
Yeah.
with him.
Yep.
Are you guys
Yeah,
kidding
it's true. It happens all the time, though. I mean, like, particularly in this kind of fiction, it seems there's a good old strain of misogyny running throughout, and the responses are often highly misogynistic. Um,
Yeah, it's a shame because I don't think it's on purpose.
no,
I don't,
it's baked in. No, it's not conscious.
yeah,
I don't think it's conscious at all. It's just it's baked in to our cultures and our assumptions, and it expresses itself in that way,
hmm
which is really unfortunate. Some of the smarter fiction out there really does explore it. It actually does
hmm
explore that response, but yeah, it's a problem. It really is. Kayleigh, I've got to skedaddle.
Oh no, that's
Um,
fine. That's fine.
but thank you so much. This has been brilliant. This has been
It
really, really
has,
cool. Again, I think this is one to continue, yeah?
yeah, but really quickly before you go,
Yes.
rank your three stats.
Okay, okay. It's got to be the series Lestat. I think is my favorite. I think he's the
Yep,
most interesting. I think he's the most complex. Then it would be the Tom Cruise Lestat.
Yeah.
than the book.
Sorry, Stuart.
Yeah, and the Stuart one doesn't even factor in. I'm really sorry. And again, it's not the actor. It's really not. It's the
It was the part.
it's just the project just didn't come together ultimately for
Mhm.
me.
I agree. Sam Reed is king.
Mhm,
King of the
mhm.
Lestats.
Yeah, totally. Although there are other characters I do find more attractive in that series. I mean, I
Well,
love
they're
the guy who plays Louis is just
he's so beautiful.
bloody hell, Jesus, where did they get him from, right? He
The Game
is,
of Thrones.
yeah, he is insanely beautiful, like
He is.
ridiculous, you know. Uh,
Well, for anyone that was listening to this on my channel, Happy Goat
mhm.
Horror, I'm going to put George's links
Oh, thank you.
in the description
Mhm.
so that you can find him. And if you're new to George, then
Mhm.
rectify that immediately.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
I'm a big fan of all of your videos and podcasts, George, as you well
Oh,
know. So highly recommended listening and viewing, everybody.
oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining me for this. This was fun.
No, it's always a pleasure. It's always brilliant. We always get going on these discussions, you know. I'm going to make an absolute effort to get to one of the horror cons this year, or so
Oh, that would be
I
yeah.
really,
Tell me where you're going to if you
yeah,
go to anything.
will do, because like
Yes.
I've met a couple of people from from the horror community. Obviously, I met Kit and
Hmm.
whatnot, but I would really like to get more involved there. Definitely.
Yeah. Yes, it would be. Well, we'll meet in person if not this year, but at some
Yeah,
time we will. We
yeah,
will.
totally, absolutely.
All right. Well, have a delightful evening, George. I'll speak
Will
to you
do.
soon, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Let me know what the next thing is you want to talk about, and we'll set something up. Yeah.
Yes, same to you if you think of something before I do.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think there's a lot that sort of can spin off from this. Actually, I think that misogyny angle is kind of interesting. I'd love to like take a deeper look at some maybe genres, like subgenres of horror, and how that manifests. That'd be kind of interesting.
I would love to do that. And if anyone has any suggestions for us,
Mm. Oh yeah,
leave them in the
throw them.
comments. That would be great.
Absolutely.
All right then. I will let you skedaddle then, and I will
Oh,
speak to you soon.
thank you. Thanks so much. Bye bye,
Okay.
guys.
Bye bye.